What's going on, internet? Analytic here, aka Dreamz, and I'd like to welcome you to mine, which I call the Notorious Mass Effect podcast. I'm your hip hop and gaming news source with a little bit of R&B mixed in. Before we get into the episode title, into episode 131, of course, there's a lot of announcements to make, and not even announcements, it's just acknowledgement, like the great Aubrey Graham, and yes, this is probably a world record on a podcaster mentioning Drake in the episode. But besides that fact, there's a lot of things that I'm grateful for, and one of them, with it being Thanksgiving, I want to give thanks to y'all as we have finally, I say finally, but that comes off abrasive. So let me just say, we have gotten to the point where now, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta turn it up. I try not to use this. I don't try to overuse this sound effect, but I think this calls for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally surpassed 2 million total downloads. Now, of course, I think one of the biggest things with me passing this benchmark is y'all's consistent support. One of the things about creating content is I do it out of the passion for the subject matter, right? But how often I do it and the consistency, I think, is a reflection on y'all's support. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do this if there was no money involved or if there wasn't no support involved, but I would not do it as often as I do now. So with everybody supporting, coming in week after week, month after month, even day after day, because I be dropping. I definitely be dropping. To support, to listen to whatever music, gaming reviews I have, for my random side tangents whenever I'm talking about Aubrey Graham, whenever I'm getting into cultures that I don't even know or speak the language of, whether it's the Latin community or the K-pop community. Y'all stuck with me and continue to support, and obviously, as you see by the chart, it's just increasing. If you don't know, this is from Red Circle, because the hosting platform I'm under is Red Circle. And all right, that's enough applause. Hold on, that's getting on my nerves. I ain't gonna lie to you. Hold on, yeah, you turn that back off. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm sorry. That was enough applause. I appreciate y'all. You know what I mean? Hey, pat myself on the back. Now it's playing. So basically, the chart that you're seeing is because, if you don't know, I started this podcast in 2020, but I had to restart because Universal Music Group, huge conglomerate of a music label, basically targeted my podcast. And while obviously there was things that made sense for them to take down, like playing music and stuff, but obviously I cover games as well, and they just took the whole thing down. So I had to start from scratch, not once but twice. And this time I started with the new hosting platform, Red Circle. Of course, I learned my lesson. With every loss comes a lesson. And with that lesson was just not to play music, because it's not like people just come solely to listen to music. Like, they come to hear my takes, obviously. So it's like, I just stopped playing the music, and it wasn't no problem for me. So then switching to Red Circle, because previously I was on Anchor. That's where the whole video aspect was coming from. That's why everything was on one platform with Anchor, because they had video element. Red Circle doesn't, but shameless plug, I do have an account on Anchor, which is Analytic Dreamz Video on Spotify, that has the video version, because you can only get the video version on Spotify through Anchor. So with that being said, I switched from Anchor to Red Circle, because I'm like, if they're not going to protect me, like the second time I didn't play music at all. I was like, if they're not going to protect me, I might as well go to another hosting platform. And with Red Circle, I just really feel like the support has been immense. And I literally met the person. I don't know if I should say a name. Probably not. It's probably more of a behind the scenes type thing. But I met the person who manages my account, and she was really nice. The interaction went well. went amazing, I might add, because sometimes huge companies, it's just like you do your thing and we'll do our thing, and there's never no face-to-face or type of acknowledgement. And for Red Circle, not saying they have to, but it was definitely nice that they did, and she reached out and she set up a whole Zoom meeting and everything. But basically, all I'm saying that to say this: the way that the journey has been going over at Red Circle has obviously, and I mean night and day, compared to Anchor, as far as compatibility, as far as being welcome, feeling like you're contributing, the engagement from people who are higher up, if that makes sense. They really know what you're trying to achieve with your goals, and that is a reflection of the numbers, because if you think about it, Red Circle, we currently have 60 to 80,000 weekly downloads as far as the audience, right? On Anchor, the biggest I ever achieved was 6,000, I believe, weekly downloads. So to put in perspective, the jump I made from Anchor to Red Circle, it's pretty significant. So that's why I want to shout out to Red Circle. Wouldn't be possible without them. Just a wonderful hosting platform, one of the best out there, and just forever grateful. So supporters, I'm grateful for y'all. Red Circle, as far as a hosting platform, I'm really thankful for y'all. And we did it, man. 2 million total downloads. And I say we did it because, you know, we passed the milestone. Obviously, we're still growing. Like, if you don't see on the chart, it says January 16th through November 4th. And if you don't know, we achieved 1 million total downloads like a month or two ago. So basically, we're growing exponentially. So time will only tell what type of milestones and benchmarks we'll pass in the future. So that being said, I don't want to drag it on too long. You know, I don't want to be long-winded, but I do have another thing to say. That's why it's definitely a jam-packed intro. So basically, hold up, I don't want to spoil it. Give me 1 second. I gotta make sure it's right. Basically, FeedSpot reached out. If you don't know, that's a podcasters database for podcasters, right? Hey, that's the name. Hey, don't kill the messenger. Basically, they reached out to me, and essentially, going off of what I just said previously, it also applies here as, I'm not saying that it's because it's in 7 day that I wanted to acknowledge, or yeah, I'm not saying just because of in 7 day is why I'm acknowledging this, but with it being Mass Effect Day, officially November 7th, N7, if you don't know, for all my Mass Effect fans out there, is, you know, Mass Effect Day, but y'all already know. I wanted to point out how not only were we not 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but we also was not 2. Now let me just, hey, let you put the puzzle pieces together. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. You know, I ain't trying to say what's the obvious. You know, what's obvious don't need to be stated. You can just see it. And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, you're gonna have to come over to Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify. I'm sorry, you know, you got to see the video version to see what I'm talking about. But let's just say there was a best Mass Effect podcast list made, and our placement was very interesting. I'm just gonna leave it at that. You know, hey, so shout out to FeedSpot. You know, they reached out to me October 26th. Talk about CPT time. You know, I'm sorry for the lateness of me acknowledging this list, but you know, I feel like how fitting would it be to acknowledge this list on N7 day for my Mass Effect fans out there. So technically, we could walk around saying, you know, as far as the masses, I need to put that in a poll. Like, what do we call ourselves now? Because honestly, I feel like that's a name that y'all give to yourselves. Like, I don't know what to call y'all, right? Like, imagine I call you something and then you be like, that's not what I want to be. That's not what I want to be called by, right? And now we got a 2023 problem on our hands. You feel me? So I'm just gonna keep saying the masses, and we're gonna see if that sticks or what y'all come up with. So based on the masses, we found ourselves at a nice spot on this list. Let's just leave it at that. You know, I'm not trying to brag, and I'm just being a little humble. You know what I'm saying? A little humble. I'm just saying we might be the best Mass Effect podcast ever. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. I had to say it. You know what I mean? Y'all didn't pull it out of me. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to acknowledge it. You know? It's like Drake. Wait, I forgot to finish that line. Basically, it's like when Aubrey Graham said, I need acknowledgement. If I got it, then tell me I got it then. So for E-Spot, shout out to y'all, because y'all obviously acknowledge that I got it, or that we got it as the masses. All right, I'm done. So that was the intro. All right, so a long update. You know, I do love to do updates, but I also love that y'all love when I do updates, because I didn't do an update for one episode. I forget, it was like several episodes in the past, but it was I forgot to do the update, and multiple people text me. It was like, dang, no update for the podcast. Y'all, you don't care about us? ? I was like, dang, that's how y'all feel? So anyways, yeah, episode 131, and we're covering a lot of gaming, of course, a lot of hip hop, of course, but then the music industry in general, because I got to get into Taylor Swift. She's going crazy. Got to get into TikTok and Billboard partnering. That's a huge deal. PlayStation. So we're going to transition obviously into some gaming news with ex-PlayStation boss Shawn Layden talking about how non-gaming companies are disrupting the industry. What else? And then we get into some beef at the end of the pod, as who doesn't love a little drama? You know, Megan Thee Stallion versus 1501, Glorilla versus Kai Cenat, City Girls. Oh, my fault. Glorilla. I've been listening to too much Akademiks. I just accidentally said Gloria. You know, podcasters would do it to you, won't they? Glorilla. You know, that's an interesting name, because somebody just, you know, forgot to put the L in there, and they may not be, you know what I mean? I'm just all I'm saying. So Glorilla versus Kai Cenat, City Girls, and their atrocious first week sales. But also, I think I'm gonna cape for them a little bit. Y'all may have to, you know, call me Superman, because I'm about to pull out my cape for the City Girls, because I feel like they're bigger than music at this point. So, not to spoil my take, because I have a lot more to say. But yeah. So that's why this episode, this episode is titled Greatest Game of All Time, ! Why? Because I believe that Spider-Man 2 has reached a point where we can ask this question and give a nice dialogue on whether it's true or not. And also, I'll be giving my personal review, spoiler review, when I get to Spider-Man 2. I'll say it again, of course. My honest reactions, thoughts, reviews of specific things in the game, what I like, what I dislike, things I think could have been better. Trying to think what else. So yeah, that's basically it for episode 131. But as always, before that, make sure to click my link tree in my bio to access my social medias and follow to keep up with my latest activities. If you want to support the show financially, click my Cash App link located towards the bottom of my link tree, as it helps the show overall. Also, make sure to share this podcast, you know, best Mass Effect podcast in the world. I'm gonna keep saying it, but you know, it's whatever. Make sure to share this podcast, rating the show 5 stars, as this helps the show reach more people so we can grow together and affect the masses. And with that being said, let's get into episode 131. All right. I have a confession to make. One of the struggling rappers that I keep around simply so his morale is boosted wanted me to play a certain song, right? Because technically, if you don't remember, And you can look this up on all DSPs back on my old podcast. For my 200,000 listener milestone, I released his song featuring another artist called Beck, and it was titled Kobe. So if you want to look that up, Notorious Mass Effect, Beck, Kobe, it should pull up, right? So because of this milestone approaching, and with it being in 7-day, meaning that everything Mass Effect is accepted, he wanted to send me this track simply for the fact that it was basically and captivating what this whole podcast is about. You know, he really rapped from the perspective as if he was me. And with that being said, this is the part of the segment where a certain majority may not understand why I'm critiquing this struggling rapper like this, but that certain minority that's been there since day one, what they say A1 since day one, they will know exactly why this is going down the way it is. So basically this track is titled Notorious Mass Effect. Yes, he titled it after me. I know he needs to get a life, but hey, he doesn't have one yet. So I guess we'll cover his track. So his morale is boosted, right? So let's get into it. Obviously, just because a struggling rapper wants me to listen to his music doesn't mean that I'm not going to give my audience my honest critiques. So with that being said, let's get into the music. Pretty sure y'all can hear that. Let me see. Yeah, I think y'all can hear that. Okay, he has a producer tag. You like to see it. All right, 2 producer tags. That's already a point off. Already, we got 1 point off.
I need my respect when I walk in. I need my respect when I walk out.
All right, hold up. I ain't gonna lie to you. Track ain't even started, and he already asking for respect. So that's another point off. So we already at 8 out of 10, 25 seconds in, and it's only looking like it's gonna go downhill from here. So anyways, let's keep going with the track because this is ridiculous, honestly. Let me see. Here we go. Yeah, having a little technical difficulties. Trying to pull up the track. All right, here we go.
I need my respect when I walk in. I need my respect when I walk out. Nah, for real. I need my respect when I walk in. I need my respect when I walk out. Everybody
Okay.
chain with the cash in, but they don't want to help with the cash out. Don't you know?
Now that'd be true. That'd be true sometimes.
Simply we are not the same. I don't care about whatever you're saying. I hope you relaying respect. This is not a game. Cause I need my respect when I walk in, and I need my.
Okay, first off, I ain't gonna lie. Chorus, a little smooth. I give it a nice, solid 3 out of 10, right? So I believe this chorus mediocre, but you know, hey, you made it to this platform, so you must be doing something right. So anyways, let's keep going.
My respect when I walk out. Everybody say you chain with the cash in. But supposed to saying with the cash out. Many people just really be talking and breast. Say they calling the brand that came from my brain. Man, who knew that displaying my passion affecting the masses? Hip hop was my claim to fame.
All right, I respect that. That's probably the best bar you've said throughout this whole track. You know, I really respect that one. All I gotta say is, you know, hey, be your own person, man. Be your own person. You know what I mean? Enough of rapping in the perspective of other people. You might as well be yourself. But I really do like that bar. So let me stop critiquing. I'm gonna let him get stuff off, right? Y'all probably like, why you hating on a young struggling rapper? My fault. My fault. Let him get his, you know, whatever off. All right, let's play this back. All right, here we go. All right, I'm just listening now. I'm just listening.
All the people who's hating can share the blame. Let me know when you begin to start running things. Okay, let me show like I'm not like you. Getting money from talking ain't nothing new. Demanding respect ain't nothing new. Seeing Spotify checks ain't nothing new. Notorious Mass Effect running games. Every song I review got them saying things. Man, they doing.
All right. I may have to bump it up 0.5. So 3.5 out of 10. That's where we're at right now. And simply because some of the Mass Effect bars that you put in this track has to be respected because it is in 7-day. So it's official Mass Effect day. So everything Mass Effect is accepted. So solely off of that, I have to give it a 3.5 out of 10. So, hey, I'm being a little gracious. You feel me? I'm being a little gracious, so let's keep continuing with the track.
Ain't nothing new. Notorious Mass Effect running games. Every song I review got them saying things. Man, they don't even know that I run this page, and I don't even care cause ain't nothing changed. I'm steady out working, the haters a creative player. They say that the rise was quick, but they steady ignoring the facts. Man, this isn't the act, man, I stay with the benefits. All that small talk is really for nothing. If I don't receive comments, I'm nothing. I'm my partner.
Was that an academics bar? I respect it.
We're looking for something. Too bad all that I carry are hundreds. Cause I don't have no time if they want some change. Unless we talking shop about penance, man. Cause they really just trying to waste my time. Ain't never distracted without a dime. Not for real, why they wanting a peace of mind when all that I want is a peace of mind. Okay.
Hold up now. I don't know if I can say it any better than Drewski. So let me just let him take the floor with this.
Meet the new Google Pixel.
All right, not Google. That's not what I was trying to do. But anyways, now let Drewski take the floor with this.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Because I don't know if y'all heard, but let's play this back right quick. Because that was very, and that may been a quadruple entendre. Don't even ask me how. You feel me? So let's play that back right quick.
I ain't never distracted without a dime. Not for real, why they wanting a peace of mind when all that I want is a peace of mind.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I gotta find out. Because that could mean a lot of things, honestly. I ain't gonna break it down, but hey, keep going, young fella. I like that.
Okay, well, let's get back to me speaking facts. All that corporate talk is just for a knack. When I hop on rap chat, I restore the feeling. But if they want me for real, gotta start appealing to that guala I'm getting from competition. Cause I'm podcasting checks to be hitting different. If you hear this, just listen and get the vision. I just hope that you know that my price is risen. So I need my respect when I walk in, and I need my respect when I walk out. Everybody wanna chain with the cash in, but then wanna help with the cash out. Don't you know I get money from talking? The money be stalking simply. We are not the.
All right, I'm vibing with it. I like it.
Cause I need my respect when I walk in, and I need my respect when I walk out. Everybody say chain with the cash in. What's I supposed to say the same with the cash out? When these people just really be talking, their brands that they calling their brand, they came from my brain. Man, who knew that displaying my passion affecting the masses? Hip hop was my claim to fame. RJ3.
All right, nice little tag at the end. You know what I mean? Them struggling rappers got to get them tags in. Hey, if you struggling, you better get them tags in because you never know when your stuff gonna get played. So that was it from that up in, you know, whatever rapper. You know, he's doing all right in life, I guess. I feel like me just playing that for him, you know, probably will uplift his spirits. And, you know, I'm in the business of spirit uplifting, you know, unless it's in the King Von lane. And, you know, I'm not trying to lift anyone's spirits, you know what I'm saying? You know, I want everybody to have living experiences, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know, after those Mass Effect bars, the academics bar, the quadruple entendre with the peace of mind, I really like that one. That one stood out to me. I ain't gonna lie. So hey, all right, I understand. I'll give it up. I'll give you a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. That's, hey, where's my applause button when you need it? You know what I'm saying? So anyways, so that's it for that. That was basically the 2 million total listener milestone segment, giving you a glimpse into the personal life while also giving you a glimpse into the way that you probably won't even understand. And by that, obviously, none of that just made sense. So, hey, that's where we at. You know what I'm saying? We just not making sense anymore. You know, podcast just talking all type of gibberish. So, if you know, you know. If you don't, hopefully you was entertained. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What did you think about that struggling rappers track, Notorious Mass Effect? Was it fire or trash? It's only right that I keep repeating this. People keep saying that Drake should have treated us better. I don't know. I don't think so. Because honestly, after some time has passed, for all the dogs it's still a classic. Like, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, honestly, when we really get into it, I think people are upset that Drake has not fell off. It's kind of like LeBron, right? LeBron playing like he is now, technically, he didn't fall off. In year, 21 or 22, LeBron is still at the same level that he used to be. Now, basketball is objective. You can look at stats compared to other people and surmise that this man is way better than the rest of them people, right? Drake is more objective when it comes to sales. So that's what I'm going to stick to, because subjective is when you bring your personal opinions to something that has no credence as far as facts, right? Subjectively, you can say that Hit 'Em Up by Tupac is a horrendous track, right? Now, would you be right? Of course not. Like, come on now. Like, you may actually get kicked out of the earth if you say that, but that's besides the point. Drake, on the other hand, it's become cool to say things in a derogatory fashion towards Drake to run up the numbers, because of course drama sells. So I'm not mad at it, and get it how you live. But I am here to actually acknowledge some of the things that he's been accomplishing with this album, because everybody's just acting like he's just singing about underage women, when really he's just talking about a lot of things with his personal experiences and the past, present, and the future. Do of that what you will. So Drake's latest album, For All the Dogs, of course, was the #1 album. I mean, was that even a question, right? And even after time, albums gotten even better. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, tried our best. At this point, I'm not overreacting. That track is literally one of Drake's best tracks of all time. Like, sonically, the way it's put together, the verses, the beat, everything about that track, it's just classic. It's classic Drake, one of Drake's greatest tracks of all time. First person shooter, one of the biggest collaborations probably in our lifetime when it comes to our current top, quote unquote, 3 rappers. I would say this is up there with Poetic Justice with Drake and Kendrick, simply for the fact that the impact that it had, also with the lyricism and then the replayability. I feel like Drake's part was lackluster, of course, but only because of the lyricism side. As far as the replayability, it's fire. Like, you hear, I'm about to when he kept repeating that, he's like, I'm about to like in the club. You know, I'm just saying, hey, Drake knows what he's doing. Jermaine, on the other hand, you know, he may or may not have had a better verse. You know, I'm not giving it, I can't give him too much prop, but you know, that's besides the point. Also, Drake has had the most entries in the Billboard Hot 100 in history. Once again, I did start the segment by saying I'm going to stick to a lot of objective facts. So that's what I stick to when it comes to Drake. Obviously, subjectively, I still think Drake is one of the greatest ever and still putting out some of the best music in his discography. But objectively, he's putting up some of the biggest numbers in his discography. So Drake has now had the most #1s on one album since Scorpion. And if you don't believe me, chart data is here to co-sign me. As if you don't know, chart data is like one of the more reputable sources out there. I definitely recommend you follow them, and I have it up now if you want to look at my Analytic Dreamz video podcast to see the video version. So Drake, For All the Dogs, ties I almost read out her Twitter name, basically ties Cardi B's Invasion of Privacy, yes, the album from, like, I think that actually came out also in 2018, but anyways, and Drake's Scorpion as the albums with the most #1 hits in US Apple Music history, with 5 each. Imagine having 5 #1 tracks from one singular album. Sounds like a classic to me, right? I don't know, maybe I'm tripping. So anyways, and he tied Michael Jackson for the most #1s with 13. I think he surpassed Michael Jackson, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he surpassed him or whatever. I don't know. he has the most number ones in 2020. That's all you need to know. In the 2020s, he has the most number ones, surpassing BTS from the K-pop group, of course. For All the Dogs had the largest streaming week of 2023. So everybody talks about Taylor Swift just being by far and away the biggest artist on the planet, which technically, I mean, if you want to have that conversation, she kind of is. But when it comes to streaming, now that's where we could tip our hat. You know, it's like in the NBA. Like, you may have the best team, but when it comes to fourth quarter 3-point percentage, yes, we're getting that specific, we're better. So when it comes particularly to streaming, Drake is still the biggest artist on planet Earth when it comes to streaming. All right. Drake's latest album numbers, of course, has declined compared to his previous releases. I blame that on COVID. Not a lot of people have expandable income. That's funny. Yeah, Benjamin's just exploding out of your pocket. Now I'm just playing. Exposable income, simply because the pandemic made a lot of people, you know, more tight-fisted with their money. Is that a pause? I don't know. The album debuted at number one, of course, already said that, with 402,000, which in previously he used to put up 700,000 to 800,000. I mean, I think with views, he got close to 1 million with like 800,000 to 900,000. But with Scorpion, he sold like 600,000 to 700,000, and then of course it just went down from there. I blame the pandemic, of course. A lot of Taylor Swift fans will come out and be like, well, our girl, that's really the only artist I can compare him to. Either Taylor Swift or a Bad Bunny. But I think Taylor Swift is more comparable when it comes to the US market. So Taylor Swift just did 1.5 million first week, basically re-releasing old music. So obviously she's still the biggest artist in the world. I'm just particularly talking about streaming and stuff and things of that nature. With Drake charting all songs from his album, of course, First Person Shooter, IDGAF, which you know what that stands for. Just PG podcast though. With Yeet, that also went number one. He had other number ones, but I forget what they was called. I think it was Daylight. I wish I had it up. I think I had it up. 1 second. Oh, here we go. Okay. So basically, all the songs that charted, right? We had First Person Shooter at number one, and then we had Yeet, I-D-A, I can't spell, IDGAF coming in at number two, but that was also number one at one point. You have Virginia Beach coming in at number three, Calling for You at number five. This is talking about opening numbers, right? And Drake Scissors Slime You Out at number six. So Daylight at number 8, Fear of Heights at number 10. All of those tracks made the top 10, and the rest of them was just spread out throughout the top 60. No, top 42. Because 59 just shows Meltdown, but that's from Utopia. So obviously Taylor Swift is back at the top now as far as the charts, but when he put out his album, he was really impacting the charts in a way that I don't think any of his albums really did. Besides the Scorpion, besides the views, of course. So with this, I think Drake has found the formula to putting out replayable music with lyricism attached to it. Because like I keep saying, everybody keeps ignoring the fact that Away From Home is on this album. It's like that track doesn't even exist. Everybody's like, I want Drake to rap. I want Drake to say this. I want Drake to say that. And on Away From Home, he's basically rapping about his life. And people just acting like that track just don't exist. People are like, man, he keeps singing about, oh, she's 21 and she too young to know my classics. I was like, what? Why are people focusing on that? Like, obviously, if he's talking about the past, that's okay. But, you know, if he's talking about present day, that may be kind of weird, you know? So shout out to Joe Budden for highlighting that for me. Because honestly, I listened to the album, I listened to the track, I ain't think nothing of it. But that track is a little wild if he's talking about present day. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was talking about in the past, right? Drake also expands or extends many of his Hot 100 charting records, including the most top 5 hits with 41, the most top 10 hits with 76. If this ain't the GOAT, I don't know what is. I mean, come on now. top 20 entries with 132, top 40 hits with 199, and overall charted tracks on Billboard with 320. This man almost has a charting track for every single day of a calendar year. If he's not the GOAT, I don't know who he is. Like, the only other acts to come even close is Taylor Swift with 212 and Glee, at all people, with 207. As far as entries in the Hot 100 specifically, Taylor Swift and Glee. Y'all gotta stop doubting my GOAT. I feel like when I bring up these type of points, it's very apparent that I'm a Drake fan, right? But also, it's not like I'm just coming from a blatant, oh, Drake's the best. Like, I objectively look at the numbers. Subjectively, I look at the quality, and I feel like he's putting out some of his best work. You know, that could be debated another day. But what can't be debated is if it's working. Because if it wasn't working, then your favorite artist would be able to compete with him sales-wise. Because the way I judge if something is working is if it has longevity on the charts. Now, if you go to the charts, you'll see all type of Drake tracks. You'll see First Person Shooter, you'll see Daylight, you will see the track with Yeet, which I don't really care for, but whatever. And I think, I don't have anything to go off of this, but I think Drake purposely tried to sabotage that track with Drake and 21, well, with him and 21 Savage. Because there's no way you telling me A&Rs heard that long, I'm not even gonna say loquacious, just straight up, just blabber. What is it? Blabber mouthing and spewing at the mouth. Let's just say that of an intro or of an interlude in the middle of Drake and 21 Savage's verse. Like, it's to the point where I literally need an update. You know how video games have patch notes to where they patch something and then it's no longer in the game because it was messing up the quality of life? That's how Drake album is with that interlude in a track. You know how many times I've been listening to it and people would literally think it's somebody else in the room simply because of that interlude. Like, imagine that. Like, imagine that interlude. For the people out there who know, you know. But you're listening to a track and that interlude comes on, like, it's not really the vibe. You know, it doesn't really set the vibes, if that makes sense. So Drake's verse and 21 Savage's verse should be paired together without that interlude. That's the only thing I'm asking for. I'm just asking if 40 is listening, if Drake is listening, if anybody from the OVO sweatshop is listening, take or at least shorten the interlude. I'm not even mad at the interlude, just shorten it. Because at this point, I have 21 Savage's verse time stamped in my brain, and it should not be like that. 3:15 is when 21 Savage's verse starts. Why do I know that? Because that interlude is that bad. So anyways, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on Drake. So, I mean, as I spend, you know, time on Drake. But I think For All the Dogs, to give my review post first impressions, I guess. It's not in first impressions, but basically post overreacting or some of the moment. I forget what it's called. Oh, Prisoner of the Moment. So after, well, post Prisoner of the Moment, I will say Drake's For All the Dogs is still one of the best albums he's ever made. I gave my top 5 list. I guess I will again to reiterate, you know, my stance on Drake's best work or best bodies of work. So number 1, of course, Take Care. Like, it's honestly Drake's coming of age when he made Take Care. It was like one of those albums where you listen back to it and it's like, wow, that is a masterpiece. Nothing Was the Same, of course, because that was Drake in his bag again. Similar to Take Care, but just not at the level as far as just back-to-back quotables. I feel like Take Care is better than Nothing Was the Same, right? Then I would say Scorpion, because that is when Drake realized that the only way to satisfy y'all is to give y'all an album full of raps and an album full of singing, which he did on Scorpion. It was first half of rapping, second half of singing. And I like how he did that because he literally let people know that if he wanted to bar you up, he could, but if he wanted to sing, he also could. And it wasn't really an album structure, but he did that on purpose because people complained so much that he was like, you know what, let me just give you a full rap album, let me just give you a full singing album and see how you like it. So, and there also there's so many introspective bars in Scorpion. I mean, so many just straight up rapping tracks on Scorpion that I don't think people really give credence to. Like, what was it, March 14th? The track before Jay-Z. I'll have to look at the track listing again. But actually, let me just pull it right now. Because I don't think people realize Scorpion is literally, like, the amount of tracks on that album that's just fire. So Survival, like, come on now, like, talk about a top 4, top 3 intro for Drake. That's Survival's really up there, as far as one of the best intros by Drake. Even better than For All the Dogs. Obviously, I like when Drake raps, but Survival, top. Emotionless, come on now. What else? 8 out of 10, just because I like the aggressiveness towards Kanye. I really like that. Sandra's Rose. I mean, if we're talking strictly rapping, right? Survival, Sandra's Rose. That's the track before Jay-Z Talk Up, if y'all was wondering. That's the one I was talking about. And there was another one. Oh, March 14th. Those are just strictly, I'm gonna bar you up and let you know I'm the best rapper ever. Talk about, I'm not even talking, like, a lot of other tracks on this, he's rapping, like 8 out of 10, Mob Ties, Nonstop, Elevate. But, you know, I basically just want to give you the straight, like, timestamp records where he's just straight going at it. And let me see what else. So then after that, I have For All the Dogs at number 4. So that's how high I regard this. That's how high I have this album as far as Drake's discography. Like, I really do believe Drake put together a really complete body of work, because you look at For All the Dogs, it's so much new sound. Like, it's new sounds that he's implementing with his flow to make it new. And I like when people elevate instead of staying in the same box that everybody claims that they want, but they really don't. People really, one thing you'll realize when doing content creation is people don't know what they want until they hear it. So you just kind of have to figure it out. I mean, obviously take constructive criticism, but at the end of the day, I mean, people would never ask for a Yachty or a Tizo Touchdown or a Yeet to all be on the same album, but somehow it turned out fire, right? Everybody's talking about Yachty, but then the tracks that they love, Yachty has spoken about having a influence on making, right? What else? So we have For All the Dogs, and then number 5. I struggle with number 5 because number 5 is tough. Cause a lot of people, somebody did hit me, and they was like, "Are you telling me if you're reading this is too late on your top 5?" And I'm not gonna lie to you, I really look at that as a mixtape. I don't really look at that as an album, because it's just him really rapping and not formulating the project in a way that I think an album should sound. Like, if you're reading this is too late, it's more of his best mixtape than it is an album, if that makes sense. Like, as far as mixtapes, I put that in the same lane, not as quality wise, but as far as structure wise, I put that in the same lane as, well, no pun intended, but Dark Lane's demo tape, More Life, What a Time to Be Alive. Like, I put that in those type of boats. In that boat as far as mixtape land, and it's the best of that boat. But as far as albums and structure wise and having a little bit of something for everyone, that's why my top 5 is the way it is. And number 5 would probably be, I think it was Views. Yeah, number 5 would probably be Views for me. Also, people was wondering why I didn't have Thank Me Later, because I used to have Those are like the OG ones. I used to have Thank Me Later in my top 5, but I just realized that sonically Drake is just way better. It's just way more refined, improved, and sometimes people think it's a bad thing if you don't sound like your older self or how you used to start off. But I ain't gonna lie, Drake was a little rough when he first started. I mean, obviously he got better over time, which is why his most recent works are in my top 5. But Thank Me Later, So Far Gone, they're great projects, but compared to a Take Care, compared to a Nothing Was the Same, I don't really think it compares like that. So, all right, I spent too much time on Drake, and that's basically my sentiments on For All the Dogs. So I have it number 4 as far as top Drake albums of all time, and kind of gave me my reasoning. If I go through all the albums, it would take forever. So what album did I not touch on? I talked about More Life. Care Package, I don't really consider that album. Honestly, Nevermind is probably his worst album. Not just because it's bad, but he's experimenting. So when you're experimenting, sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. And I don't really think it's stuck like that. I don't think it's a bad album, but I do believe that it's compared to his discography, honestly, Nevermind is probably at the very bottom because that's just not his lane. What else? Her Loss. I have a hot take with Her Loss. I think Her Loss is better than What a Time to Be Alive. I think that's also. So if you're talking about mixtapes, Her Loss and If You're Reading This Is Too Late is in the same tier. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's in the same tier. Certified Lover Boy. I liked that album when it came out. But after For All the Dogs came out, I realized that Certified Lover Boy was, it was good, but it was just it was more of the same. It was like the songs I've heard off of Certified Lover Boy, I've heard in improved versions on older Drake projects. It seems like he was just doing off-brand tracks of Take Care or Nothing Was the Same. So Certified Lover Boy is still a good album. The way I'm talking is if you're talking about LeBron, LeBron's Bad Game is still better than 80% of players out there. So Certified Lover Boy was still a solid project. I just don't have it in top 5. It's probably middle of the road towards the bottom maybe. So yeah, I'm not giving my whole ranking of Drake albums. I just kind of give you an overview because I talk about Drake all the time. So I might as well give y'all some type of overview of how I look at his discography. As far as the greatest discography of all time, now I'm off on a side tangent. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But I think the greatest hip hop discography of all time definitely belongs to Kanye West. But I still believe that Drake's versatility makes him my favorite artist, if that makes sense. As far as artist and rapper combined with singing, I will take Drake. But as far as musical production, the 808s, the hi-hats, the snares, while also being a rapper and artist and singing over tracks, I would take Kanye. I feel like Kanye is the more complete package when it comes to producing an album compared to Drake. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's kind of like comparing Dr. Dre to Jay-Z. They do different things, but they do them at such a high level that's not really discrediting one or the other. They're just in very different lanes, and hopefully people recognize that rap is not all about just rhyming words together. Hopefully people know that at this point. So anyways, what else? Yeah, Drake's still the GOAT. Surpassed Michael Jackson, all that good stuff. And yet another number 1 album for Aubrey Graham, as this man has the most entries. I want to leave you off with this point because this is really why, objectively speaking, I feel like he is the GOAT. He has the most entries in the Billboard Hot 100 in history. Of all time, of all the people putting out music, and there's a lot of music coming out every day, this man has put up the most numbers on Billboard Hot 100. Throughout the history of time, Prince, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Taylor Swift, Morgan Wallen, whatever popular country artists back in the day, none of them had more entries in the Billboard Hot 100 than Drake with 320. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you off with this point because this is really why, objectively speaking, I feel like he is the GOAT. He has the most entries in the Billboard Hot 100 in history. Of all time, of all the people putting out music, and there's a lot of music coming out every day, this man has put up the most numbers on Billboard Hot 100. Throughout the history of time, Prince, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Taylor Swift, Morgan Wallen, whatever popular country artists back in the day, none of them had more entries in the Billboard Hot 100 than Drake with 320. So with that being said, Click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Drake being the GOAT? And if you don't think he's the GOAT, which musician in today's age, in hip hop also, or just in general, do you think has more of a GOAT case than Drake? It was only a matter of time between TikTok and Billboard to eventually make a strategic partnership because of their influence on the music industry. Because if you don't know, when TikTok was first blowing up and music was getting played expeditiously, shout out to T.I., of course. I can't spell it, but I just said it, you know what I'm saying? Music labels was upset because they felt like they were not getting compensated enough for the music that was being played on TikTok. So how do you come to a middle ground where both sides are happy with what they are getting as far as the slice of the pie? You come to a partnership. If you can't beat them, join them. And TikTok seems like it's here to stay. So Billboard decided to have a partnership created in the likes of a TikTok Billboard. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of these tracks that you hear in whatever short you see swiping up on TikTok will now be counted towards the Billboard Top 50 chart. And so technically right now I have up the September charts for the TikTok Billboard. I don't actually know how to pull up the TikTok Billboard charts. Not like I've looked for it, because I feel like the influence as far as music is really shorts related. So it's not really a whole indication of how people are vibing with your track. It's more of a, is it nice for a sound clip for a funny video? And that's kind of how I feel like music blows up on TikTok. As you see right here, shout out to Analytic Dreamz video on my Spotify channel for the video element along with the audio. But basically, as you see, Ski is it's hard to say that, is at the top of the Billboard chart for September 14th, right? That is by Sexy Red. Now, do I believe that Sexy Red is just making the best music out here and is just chart topping with her singles? No. But on TikTok, of course she is. Everybody loves the Ski tagline and they be using it in every single video that involves dancing. So if Ski is going to be the feature as far as the first position, followed by Doja Cat, followed by Taylor Swift, of course, then you get an indication of what the masses are listening to when they want to dance, which is a big influence factor when it comes to the party scene. So now users can access the chart within the TikTok app. Oh, okay, so you just go to the TikTok app or on the Billboard's website to see the current top 50 chart. So the collaboration between TikTok and Billboard definitely highlights TikTok's influence on the music industry, as I just said, and its role with music discovery and promotion. So not only do we have Kaizenat to come out and tell us what's hot and what's trash, but we now have TikTok. Why do I say Kaizenat? Because he's one of the most influential content creators out there who promotes musicians. I mean, there's a reason why Offset did a whole stream, like an overnight stream with Kaizenat, and then come to find out his album sales went up, in fact, and he sold around 80,000 first week, which I know a lot of people remember my take on Offset. Well, if you don't, I'll remind you. Basically, I was completely wrong. I thought Offset was kind of flopping a lot with his singles, so I didn't think the album would perform as well. But boy, was that marketing strategy because that man was everywhere you could be when it comes to publicizing your album. That is how you market an album. Whenever you're putting out a project that you actually feel like people should listen to, that's the type of marketing rollout you should have. As you could tell, Offset really wanted people to listen to his music, and guess what? When he put it out, people listened to it. So another tidbit that popped up into my mind is Drake's use of Sexy Red on For All the Dogs, Rich Baby Daddy. If you don't know, that track is doing particularly well on the charts, and I think Drake probably saw Sexy Red's music dominating the charts of TikTok, having multiple tracks. If you don't know, it's multiple. So it's not just this one. I know I have this track up, or this chart up, but this is an older chart. But this is a more up-to-date statistic, as Taylor Swift with 7 songs and Sexy Red with 4 are the artists with the most entries on the TikTok Billboard Top 50 chart since it launched. So it kind of shows you why Sexy Red is so popular and where her popularity comes from. And it's more of a valuable tool, not only for the industry, but for fans to recognize how music discovery on TikTok is shaping up in a popular culture and how engaging it is to music fans. I don't really use TikTok like that unless I'm posting videos, shameless plug, the Analytic Dreamz on TikTok, click my link tree in my bio, all that good stuff. But basically I post a lot of different interviews and basically my takes on music, and that's what I use it for. I don't really scroll too much on TikTok. I don't follow anybody because I don't use it. So I'm not too familiar with the whole process of going on TikTok just to watch videos and seeing music pop up. But if you want that, then to access the chart on TikTok, users can tap the round icon at the bottom of the screen and click on the music charts button in the top right corner. And this chart is updated weekly on Thursdays and is available on both TikTok and Billboard's website. So all you need to know is that this is one of the biggest this is one of the biggest strategic marketing partnerships that we will see in 2023, because TikTok is humongous as far as its influence on the musical field, and Billboard, without saying, like, that goes without saying. A lot of people love to be on Billboard charts. I mean, if everybody could be on there, they would. You know what I mean? So many tracks drop a day, but only the top 100, the top 200 make it to Billboard charts. And for our IAA certification, I believe this will also help out, as they can get an inclination on what people are listening to on TikTok and kind of count those streams towards Billboard. As with this partnership, it makes it even easier for both sides to streamline the statistics in a way that users can access. So it's sort of like when you go to your DSP, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, Amazon, and go to the charts and see who is where as far as the top 100 position. It's a very interesting day in society when TikTok is navigating the landscape of music, but I kind of correlate it with the ringtone era. If you don't remember, the ringtone era was back in the 2000s when, Soulja Boy was going crazy with his dance and stuff, and everybody also was singing Kiss Me Through the Phone like it was going out of style, right? Humongous ringtone as far as sales and downloads, but now I feel like TikTok is an updated version of that, as it's more of a short clip but also used in the factor of entertainment. So ringtones and TikTok, as far as musical influence, I think is having the same effect. And let me know if I'm off with that comparison, but that's the biggest way I can quantify it, because I think if you're a musician, I would rather be on Billboard charts than TikTok, but obviously TikTok is as influential than ever nowadays, so it would definitely not hurt to have your song charting on TikTok. Well, now Billboard charts. So that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about the TikTok and Billboard collaboration as far as them creating the TikTok Billboard Top 50 charts? And in the longevity of things in the music industry, do you think that this Top 50 chart from TikTok will help artists create more buzz around their musical releases? This is really just Taylor Swift's world, and we're just living in it. Because honestly, 2023, when it comes to music, has just been completely dominated by Taylor Swift in a way that reminds me to relate it to sports, because that's my go-to. LeBron in 2012, 2013. It's just back-to-back trophies, whether it's regular season trophy, whether it's, regular season MVP, whether it's postseason MVP, whether it's the NBA Finals championship. It's everything and more for Taylor Swift and her fan base, rabid fan base that calls themselves the Swifties, of course. Now, why am I saying that as a coverer of hip hop? It's because hip hop has had one of the worst years ever. So in turn, I have to look at the field to kind of understand why hip hop is performing so poorly when it comes to the overall landscape of 2023. And look no further than this lady right here. Let me tell you something. Taylor Swift has a case, literally a case, to call herself the queen of pop. Hear me out. Hear me out. The numbers that Taylor Swift has put up is astronomical. Like out of this world type beat, right? And it's to the point where she literally leads all of their other artists and nominations for the 2023 Billboard Music Awards. So let me tell you this. She has the potential to break records, right? Billboard Music Awards is not subjective. It's basically statistically speaking. So whether you sell the most means you're going to win. Well, let me put it in more layman's terms. Winners are determined by performance metrics on the year-end Billboard charts. So it's no, oh, who you think's gonna win? Oh, I can't. Oh, hopefully he upsets this person, or hopefully she upsets so and so. All of that is out the window. Taylor Swift is running the charts. Like, she's literally going to break records. Because I remember there was one year where Drake ran it up. I don't know if it was with Views or Scorpion. But then he went to the Billboard Music Awards show and he took a picture of what I think was like 10 to 12 trophies, because it's statistically speaking, it's not subjective. It's not like, oh, he got 5 trophies, so let's give the next one to this other artist because he has 0. It's none of that. It's if you win on the charts, you win out in the Billboard Awards show. So Taylor Swift, similar to the MTV Awards, she's going to show up. She's going to collect all of her trophies. And she's probably going to take a picture just being surrounded by them. Remember I said that. So the Billboard Music Awards, of course, is this year, right? And it has a lot of new categories, including K-pop and Afrobeats, that have been added to the Billboard Music Awards. But the reason why I want to speak on this is because of this topic right here that I have on the screen. If you don't see it, Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video element along with the audio. But with that out the way, Taylor Swift is continuing the Eras tour. So she is... I'm trying to find it. Fans are encouraged to dress up and make friendship bracelets. I don't know where that came from, but it's just a side tangent. I'm sorry. And now you know. Basically, she has extended her Eras tour with new dates in Canada, Latin America, Asia, Australia. Don't Australia, isn't that the place with the humongous bugs, like the Jurassic Park for bugs? Isn't that what Australia is? Maybe I'm tripping. But last time I heard, you go to Australia, you may get eaten by a man spider. I ain't gonna lie to you. And Europe. So that is where her tour is extending to. Once again, it's Canada, Latin America, Asia, Australia, and Europe. And then she also has a movie coming out. I swear this is not no press release. I'm just reading it off as I have it. Taylor Swift also has a movie coming out. No, it's already out on October 12th. So yeah, it's been out. The Eras tour, and it's been shown 39 AMC theater locations. And the film runtime is about 2 hours and 48 minutes. The concert is expected to run 4 weeks in theaters. So by the time this comes out, it should still be in theaters. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. This week or next week may be the last of it. So I would see it soon. 2 hours and 48 minutes of runtime. It's expected to run for 4 weeks. That's why I said that. And the album airs in order. The movie was filmed during Swift's first 3 shows at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. And that's where the friendship bracelets come in. And then moviegoers are allowed to dance and sing along during the film. So it's like some High School Musical type beat. Hopefully nobody woke up on the wrong side of the bed, because man, that would be annoying. So anyways, she has multiple... Oh, that's the nominations part. The Billboard Music Awards will not be on TV. What? Winners will be announced on social media and live stream. I wish I had a boo sound effect. Do I have a boo sound effect? Let me see. Because that is, what type of, that's like if the Grammys, well, yeah, it's like if the Grammys had it only on live stream and announced the winners via social media. Like what type of brokey behavior is that? Talk about budget cuts. That is insane. Honestly, that is pretty crazy. I'm trying to pull up my boo sound effect. It's not working right now. Give me a second. I think I had a boo. I don't think I had one. Anyways, I'm here to boo them myself. So, for the Billboard Music Awards, all I gotta tell y'all, as far as the TV and winners and stuff like that being announced on social media and live stream, and for the award show not to be on TV at all, boo, boo, that sucks, boo. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. I ain't gonna lie to you. That was my best impression of how the crowd be booing people. But yeah, Billboard Music Awards, that actually is pretty disappointing because I was looking forward to that picture with Taylor Swift just surrounded by trophies. But I'm pretty sure they did that simply because Taylor Swift dominated the entire year. Well, not the entire year, but because Morgan Wallen had like the first 3 months, 2 to 3 months, and then Taylor Swift dropped, and it was all pandemonium from there. So, what else? There's something else I was wanting to get into. The Eras Tour, the movie, and then I want to get into some stats. So yeah, let's look up Taylor Swift's stats because this is ridiculous, right? The reason why I'm calling her the queen of pop is not just to be disrespectful, because I swear Michael Jackson fans always act like I'm trying to discredit MJ when in all actuality, you know, there's other people that, you know, he may have to pass the baton to, and I think Taylor Swift is on the rise to receive that baton. Pause if needed. I don't know. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so Taylor Swift's first week sales over time. So 1.6, 1.5. I want y'all to look at this right quick, right? I want y'all to look at this. Y'all let me know any other artist that's ever crossed a million first week sales once, right? Besides a Michael Jackson. Like you literally have, that's why I call her the queen of pop, simply because of this stuff right here. So basically, her first week sales of all of her albums, most of them has debuted like the first week that it was out, debuted with above a million stream purchases or sales, album sales, not just streams, album sales. Because if you don't know, the amount of streams for one album is like 1,000 or 2,000. It's a lot, right? So this is album sales. This is not streams. 1 million plus on most of her albums first week. That is insane, honestly. So that's why I call her the queen of pop, because nobody else is doing that. Drake's not doing that. Bad Bunny's not doing that. I think Adele did that once, if I'm not mistaken. Who else is close? That's basically it. Beyonce, definitely not. So I'm not trying to discredit other artists. I'm just letting you know the reason why I'm calling Taylor Swift the queen of pop is not to discredit Michael Jackson. It's actually to honor him, because that's how ahead of the pack Michael Jackson was numbers wise when it comes to his peers. So Taylor Swift, when it comes to her peers, it's just a wide gap. Like that's why I said LeBron 2013. Well, LeBron 2012, 2013, because Taylor Swift and the next best musician, which you know, I'm biased, but I would say Drake, is a humongous gap. Like, you don't see my hands right now, but I'm doing a very large, you know, to showcase the motion. So obviously you can't see through the screen. But so anyways, there's something else I was wanting to look up. So let me take that off the screen. So so Taylor Swift has sold 4.5 million pure copies this year alone. By far the top selling act by total album sales. 6 more times than number 2. 6 more times than number 2. So I'm just throwing these stats at you to let you know why I'm covering Taylor so frequently, because basically it's very, I won't say ignorant, but some dismissive to act like Taylor Swift is not existing while I cover music. Even though I cover hip hop mainly, specifically, Taylor Swift and what she's doing for the music industry, as far as just carrying it on her back, because let's be honest, hip hop hasn't been performing all too well when it comes to the charts. We've been getting outperformed by country artists, pop artists, K-pop musicians. No disrespect to them. Just pointed out how hip hop is like, to go back to sports. Hip hop is like Team USA in basketball. Like, the world is catching up. And I know you're like, well, Taylor Swift and Morgan Wallen is American. Just stick with my comparison, right? Hip hop is Team USA, right? For the past 3 to 4 years, we've been by far number one. Like, not even close. Like, if you talk about the top genres that people are listening to, it's hip hop by far. To the point where we've had collabs with Morgan Wallen and Lil Durk, Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar, Taylor Swift and Ice Spice. Do you not know that Taylor Swift and Ice Spice has a song together? Y'all think that's just because Taylor Swift likes Ice Spice? I mean, honestly, reports came out that it's because of her ex-boyfriend being racist towards her or something like that. I'm not putting no dispersions on anybody. I'm just letting you know. Well, aspersions? I think it's aspersions. Anyway, I'm not putting that on anybody. I'm just letting you know what the reports are saying. So she has a song with Ice Spice, right? And nowadays, we have people like J. Cole, Jermaine, doing features for Hope from BTS. Obviously, no disrespect. I'm just letting you know that hip hop has become the collaborator. The collaborator. Can I talk? I don't know. Collaborator instead of the collaboratee. That makes sense. Anyways, instead of being the one that people are coming to for collaboration, they're going to them for collaborating. Simply because they're the ones dominating now, and not hip. I'm not gonna say dominating. They're the ones coming on top now more than they used to in the past 3 to 4 years. I think that puts it. Yeah. So once again, Taylor Swift is a huge proponent to why pop is going to be number one as far as the most genre listened to. But let's just keep in all actuality, hip hop is still on top. It's just they're a big dog, which is Taylor Swift's the biggest, is dropping multiple albums in 1 year on some NBA Youngboy type beat and putting out 1 point. It's like if NBA Youngboy dropped and consistently sold what he used to sell with AI Youngboy, right? That's what Taylor Swift is doing, dropping multiple times a year. Well, really, this is the only year she's done that, but basically selling over 1 million first week every single time. So with that, I wanted to get into other things. Okay, so Taylor Swift's 1989 Taylor's version, which is the latest album, debuted at number one, of course, with 1.6 million units first week, which is the biggest album sale week of the decade. All right. Dictionary time. Because even me, sometimes I get confused. Like what does a decade really mean? Honestly, like Drake said, we're gonna look around a decade from now. I still ain't seen Big Shot. Now just playing. Let me chill. All right. So, Taylor Swift had the biggest album sale as far as first week of the decade. Right. A decade, by definition, is a period of 10 years, beginning with the end year of 0. Or by another reckoning 1, right? That's in parentheses. So basically all you need to know is a period of 10 years. That's all you need to know. With that being said, Taylor Swift got it, man. She got it. I mean, obviously, if those stats don't ring a bell, then I don't know what will, because I really do feel like Taylor Swift is one of those type of musicians where her presence will be missed if she ever stopped making music. It's like one of those things where if I was to act like, oh, hip hop don't need Drake. Drake can retire tomorrow, like a lot of these other people are saying, not understanding that Drake's the only reason really hip hop is even competing. Because if it wasn't for Drake, what we have Travis Scott, and you know he's on tour, so he's not really gonna promote because he just wanted to go back on tour to make money, and let me chill with Travis Scott and touring. But you know how I feel about Travis Scott and his tours. So with that being said, don't really have too much pioneer presence when it comes to hip hop. I mean, the biggest thing we've received as far as a big voice coming out to talk about the landscape of hip hop is Jermaine with Lil Yachty. And if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, then it's not much I can do for you, man. So that's basically what I wanted to get into. Just give Taylor Swift the most ultimate praise that I could give her, because she is putting up numbers that we've never seen. Well, not never, but we haven't seen in a long time. And last theory before I wrap this up, I promise. Taylor Swift being with Travis Kelce, I do not think that's a PR stunt. I do believe that she is in a business strategic relationship. I know some of y'all may say that's a PR stunt, but I honestly do believe that she will be with him for quite some time, simply for the fact, I think by next year or the year after next year, she wants to host the Super Bowl. She wants to get to the point where Travis Kelce is in the Super Bowl and she's performing. Now, obviously, those two things, one's a little bit, well, it's not easy, but Taylor Swift made it look easy. So her getting to the Super Bowl to perform is a little bit easier than Travis Kelce getting to the Super Bowl. But with him being on Kansas City Chiefs, you never know. And I would not be surprised if they pull a, Usher's sick, or Usher got injured, or Usher has family matters and his replacement is Taylor Swift. I would not be surprised if NFL tried to pull that and act like we were stupid. So I'm going to call it out just so they don't do it. Because I think if enough people understand the lengths that NFL will go to make Taylor Swift happy, they would probably look at Usher headlining the Super Bowl a little differently. Like, because they could easily try to pressure Jay-Z and Roc Nation, because if you don't know, Jay-Z's over the entertainment for NFL. They can easily pressure Jay-Z to say, hey, Usher is not performing, Taylor Swift is. I don't care if you have to come up with an excuse, but this is what we're making happen. So that's my last, that was a little reach, but that's my last theory on what could happen with Taylor Swift and her impact of 2023. So click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Taylor Swift and her run in 2023? And do you think it's the greatest run by a musician of all time? At this point, 2023 has been officially the rise of AI, because the amount of problems that's been created based off of the evolution in AI has been staggering. And by staggering, I mean absolutely mesmerizing, honestly, because 118 days. Let me repeat that. 118 days actors spent on strike. And basically, if you don't know, actors have their group called SAG-AFTRA. They were striking due to them wanting protections and higher pay and protections against the use of artificial intelligence, which is AI, of course. And the impact of this was that several, and I mean, not even, that's an understatement, almost all films, movies, well, same thing, all movies, TV shows were delayed. The biggest one that a lot of people was upset over was Dune Part 2 and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, I believe. I think that was supposed to come out in a short time span after the latest one we just seen, Across the Spider-Verse. But because of this strike, obviously, no matter if you're acting in real life or in voice acting land, you're still an actor. So that got delayed. Actors wasn't able to promote any of the movies, which is, if you ever look it up, the actors for Barbie, while they was putting up historic numbers, they was literally on the premiere set and they had to leave mid, which I don't know if it was a play. It seemed like it was a play because they left mid premiere on a short notice when the strike started. So that was so interesting to see because it was like, did they do that on purpose? Because if you don't know, Barbie, I have to look at the numbers. I'm no movie or TV show expert, but Barbie, one of the biggest movies of the year, I believe, if not the biggest. So they did that at the premiere. Margaret Robbie, I don't remember all the other characters, I ain't gonna lie, but they all walked off at a short notice after they started the strike, and it really was impactful, right? So this is the first time since 1960 that both actors and writers unions went on strike simultaneously. If you don't know, the writers came to an agreement with the studios, I believe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's been a while. So everybody's looking at the actors like, are y'all gonna follow suit? And it seemed like they wasn't about to follow suit. It seemed like it was about to get spooky. I mean, even though it's been spooky with the strike in general for the writers, once the actors joined, it was like, okay, well, nothing's getting done now. It's almost like if you're working at Walmart and everybody's like, hey, how about we just band together and not come to work? That's basically what happened. So there's a whole building, right, that could be making tons of money, but since there's no workers in it, the owners just sitting there like, dang, maybe we should pay these guys what they're worth. So basically, SAG-AFTRA reached an agreement with the studios that includes higher pay and protections against the use of artificial intelligence. The reason why I'm saying it in like layman's terms, because obviously contracts have a lot of stuff in them, but basically that's all you need to know. They was really wanting higher pay and protections against AI. I think that was the biggest one, because apparently Disney was out here scanning people and then using AI to replicate their faces in other shows so they didn't have to get like a whole crowd every time they did like a scene outside or some crazy like that. So they signed off on that, and so they have more protection against AI, which I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like studios will always find some type of way to get around it, but hey, to each his own. So basically there was a big deal, right? Even the president came out and it has economic I don't know the word. Economic yeah, I totally forgot the word. Anyways, y'all can that was definitely a not top 10 moment. But even the president came out to congratulate them coming to the agreement, because this is a huge deal. Let's just say impact. So this has economic impact in the way that dollars will be spent to see these actors in any form of television. Like, escapism is a real thing, and it generates revenue for the economy, right? So it'd be a bad thing if we lost a very ginormous amount of revenue simply because the actors are on strike and the studios don't want to pay them what they're worth. So because of them coming to a fair agreement, quote unquote, President Joe Biden came out and praised the deal, highlighting successful collective bargaining. And then the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass, welcomed the fair agreement and emphasized the impact of the strikes on millions in Los Angeles and nationwide. So basically they came out and basically talked about the overall landscape of how the strike affected. I don't think that was a sentence. But anyways, financial impact and cost savings, higher labor costs, of course, company cost savings, future production landscape is getting it to the point where now that everybody went on strike, now that they come back, the pressure on budgets for shows and movies are going to take it from one level to a higher level. So let's say you're shooting a mid-tier show, right? And your actors went on strike. But now your budget let's say your budget was 30 million. Now it's going to go from 30 million to 60 million. Because guess what? Now you got to pay them more. So, hey, it be like that. So industry insiders anticipate a shift in the production landscape with fewer projects because of this. So it's going to be harder to get a TV show off of the ground. And they are predicting, these are like experts. So it's not just me just, freestyling. This is like experts read a lot of articles. This is what they're saying. Basically, there's going to be a decrease in the number of TV series and about a 20% reduction compared to pre-strike levels, simply because they have to pay more, right? You pay people more, they're going to find some way to get that money back. And what they're going to do is probably lay off more people. So it's a sad reality, but I guess they came to a fair agreement, right? I mean, I guess they're back working. Executives indicate that a move towards fiscal responsibility, being more selective and picking up shows. Basically what I was just saying previously, how they're going to spend money on certain people and a lot of people are going to get left out. So as far as inclusion, diversity, I'd be interested to see how much of that is in TV shows and movies nowadays, because if you have to pay them more, you already know it's going to be a certain privilege for certain people. So now that you have to actually come out of pocket more, then they may go with the safer, what they think is safe bet, than including more diversity. Hopefully that makes sense, because obviously I don't want that to happen. But whenever I do see stuff like this, I know they have like a trick up the sleeve. I never think, oh, it's a fair agreement, the studios just folded. Like, this is Disney, this is Amazon, this is Warner Bros. Like, this is big studios we're talking about. This is not just your mom and pop shop who you're negotiating your contract with, right? This is the biggest of the crop. This is the cream of the crop, basically. So I think the studios will have something up their sleeve. I don't want to give like a pessimistic take on it, but I think I just did. So let's just get into the overview aspect of the industry, right? Because I'm not no movie or a TV show connoisseur unless it's Marvel, and you know, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But basically the industry, the movie entertainment industry, right? The film industry doesn't expect an immediate bounce back, simply because of the pace and the amount of time it would take to recover. And so that means that the future is uncertain in the industry as it tries to accommodate people by coming out of pocket more, but also realizing that with the streaming dominance, studios are losing money. I don't know if you know, movies are not music. Music could literally be done by a producer, rapper, and then that's it, right? Movies take a lot more workload to create. Like, you know how people like Lil Wayne or people like, I don't know who be doing that a lot, Chris Brown, or basically how they will come out in an interview and they will say, man, I did like 100 songs in the studio last night. Or they'll be like, man, I went in the studio and I swear I created like 3-4 albums. Like, you're never gonna hear a director come into an interview and be like, man, I just made about 5 or 6 movies last night. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, the amount of movies I just made in one night, that's crazy. Nah, it's never gonna happen. So for movies and TV shows to be on streaming platforms, that's gonna lose the studio's money. I don't care how nobody slices it. Netflix messed up the game for everybody. I don't know why nobody ever acknowledges that. Like, used to you had to go buy physical copies for music, right? You had to go to the movies to see, well, movies. But now you pay what? That's why the streaming prices are also increasing, if you don't know. But now you pay $12.99 or whatever to get a plethora of movies that each one of those movies, well, the big ones, not the smaller ones, each one of those movies could have been for like $14 a pop at the movie theater. So studios are losing money. And that's why this whole, I'm not going to say that's why it happened, but AI, along with the streaming stuff, I think is why this strike happened for the actors. Because the actors was like, if we don't, no pun intended, but if we don't act now, they're going to run this AI to the point where everybody's going to be copied in every single TV show. Like, you're going to see your face put on another TV and realize you signed down the paper and gave your soul away and your likeness, right? So it protects actors more, which I'm happy about. But in the grand scheme of things, I just think movies and TV shows needs to go back to the form of, well, as a consumer, I don't care. Hey, $12.99 for all the movies in the world. y'all keep losing money. I don't care. I ain't gonna tell y'all how to, you know what I mean? That's almost like when people on Twitter was like, I can't believe this app is free. That's basically what the studios are doing with these streaming platforms. I'm like, ain't no way y'all looked at this and was like, you know what? This is the move. So they gonna find out the hard way. You think all these musicians like that the music is available just for a subscription price on Spotify, Amazon Music, or Apple? No, they would rather you go to the store, or even go to, I think on Apple you can actually buy the album outright, so you can like own it, so you can like download it and stuff. For Spotify, I don't think so. So basically what I'm saying is it's a much larger conversation. That's the reason why studios was like, we ain't paying y'all more, we losing money. You know, they can't really say that, because then the stakeholders are going to be like, hold up, you losing money, but you just told me, you know, you just told me this, so I invest more money. So yeah, it's very interesting where we're at in entertainment industry. And you know, a lot of people don't care, because you know, like they said, they be calling the actors a fake job. I think that's so hilarious. I'm like, ain't no way. That's actually pretty funny, because when it comes to escapism, I don't know what's a better form of entertainment besides a nice TV show or a nice movie. So anyways, with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about SAG-AFTRA finally coming after 118 days? Finally coming to an agreement with the studios and ending their strike. And what do you think is the future ramifications of how long their strike lasted? I just have one question. Where are we dropping, boys? Because at this point, I'm gonna have to lace them up, because I've never been good at FPS games. Not really my cup of tea. I've always been a fighting game type gamer, or open world action adventure type gamer. But Fortnite is probably the first time where I hopped on and I was just like, you know what? Even though I'm just getting completely demolished, destroyed, torn apart, pause, I feel like I'm having fun. So Fortnite, if you don't know, is back again, putting up numbers like Jordan in 96, 97. Because it's back to its OG ways, as Fortnite launched with the original map. And with that, players have had a resurgence of interest in this game, with over 44.7 million players and 102 million hours of play. And this also led to record-breaking internet activity in the UK, surpassing previous game launches like Call of Duty Warzone. So that being said, I just want to get into some of the iterations of what I've heard about the map. I've watched some gameplay. Of course, it's not exactly OG, because, you know, mechanics are new as far as some of the newer installations of the full run mechanic. I feel like that's like fully new when comparing it to OG. So it's not everything OG, right? You still have the updated mechanics, but it's basically the map. So the new season is basically the map of, was a version of the Chapter 1 map. And the current season is set to end November 3rd, with the new season expected to go live after a few hours of downtime. And the new season is not part of Chapter 5, but is rather a bridge to transition from Chapter 4 to Chapter 5. So it's referred to as Fortnite OG, but it's still going from Chapter 4 to Chapter 5. Confusing, I know, but hey, that's where we're at. So obviously not, because the marketing campaign is working. So the island of Fortnite OG will start beginning Chapter 1, Season 5, and gradually transform into other iterations of Chapter 1 from Season 5 to Season X. And then changes will be made to accommodate this zero build mechanic introduced in Chapter 3, including the addition of zip lines and other travel infrastructure. And then some modern conveniences for Chapter 3, such as sliding, sprinting, and mantling, may not be removed despite earlier reports. So that's what I was talking about, the whole new sprinting mechanic and the sliding and mantling. Like, it's not OG mechanics, it's just OG map. But the loot pool will reflect the state of the island in each chapter, with season 6 guns during season 6, season 7 guns during season 7, and so on. So the ballers, airplanes, hoverboards, and the classic pump shotgun are confirmed to be present on OG Island. I wonder if the classic pump shotgun is still as OP as it used to be, because I remember when people used to pick up that OG shotgun, it used to be one tap and they was down. Like, if you didn't have a shield, good luck trying to fight somebody with a shotgun. So anyways, like I said, the launch covered over 44.7 as far as the concurrent player count record, and 44.7 million as far as the concurrent player count, and 102 million hours of playtime. Basically, I say all that to say this: Fortnite OG is a great marketing strategy in the sense of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. A lot of people love the OG Fortnite, so they came back to play this game once more. I saw a lot of people on my timeline talking about, oh, gotta get the boys back on the game or whatever. They was basically like, gotta hop back on it with the boys because, you know, with OG Fortnite, we gotta get the OG team. But guess what? Not to be the party pooper or to rain on your parade, but one of the things about evolution is it never really feels the same once you go back to it. You know what I'm saying? It's more like one of those things where it's nice to see, but as far as the feeling, it may be a little different. But if you were nice at Fortnite and you was waiting for a return of old, well, I guess at this point, the return of the new / old, because you still have the new mechanics, then you will be pleased to know that Fortnite is going back to the OG ways, OG battle pass, remix pass skins, so you can feel like you did when you used to play the OG Fortnite. And as somebody who's not really a huge fan of FPS games, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm gonna let y'all handle it, let y'all shoot it out with the opposition, and let y'all dodge sniper bullets and deal with shooting somebody one time and then they build the whole Trump Towers. But besides that fact, I think that this is a nice marketing strategy by Fortnite, and it's only captivated by their player count increasing tremendously. So at the end of the day, the person who came up with this idea for Fortnite to go back to its OG foundation, they need a raise, because you never know when you have to rely on nostalgia, but obviously Fortnite feels like the time is now, as a lot of people are clamoring for that next FPS game that everybody can just join into a lobby and hop into, because Modern Warfare 3 let us down. Titanfall 3 seems like it's never going to be created, let alone finished. So now we're left with the OGs like Fortnite, what else? Valorant, CSGO to save us when it comes to our shooting withdrawals, our first person shooter withdrawals. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Fortnite going back to its OG foundation, and with the player count reaching over 44.7 million players? And will you be one of those players to hop on Fortnite in the future? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Now, Call of Duty is not going anywhere, of course. But with the way it's going, its trajectory, if a certain game, and Respawn, I'm talking directly to you, if a certain game comes out today, whereas we are starving for a new FPS shooter. I mean, I think I saw a game titled The Finals. I don't know if that's first person, but I know it's a shooting game, right? People want a new shooting game to gravitate towards and feel like it's captivating them. And for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 to come out the way it has, people are calling it the most laziest attempt in a while as far as a release. Because I don't know if it was Activision. I think it is Activision. But basically, this campaign, the multiplayer, and everything that captivates it is severely lacking. I mean, lacking to the point where it's not connecting easy to read plot points. It's not connecting character motivation, character arcs. A lot of the plot points is just failing. It's just straight up abysmal what they released. It feels like DLC. People complain about Miles Morales being DLC for Spider-Man PS4, right? This is a way more egregious attempt at a cash grab for basically DLC. This is like glorified DLC. I mean, the campaign is said to be 3 to 6 hours of thin storytelling and dull missions, is what I've been told. And because obviously I ain't played that. I'm not paying no $70 to play no 3-hour game. Let me tell you that. That don't even correlate in my mind. But another thing to note is that Call of Duty is just one of the more globally recognized brands when it comes to first-person shooters, and regardless of genre, just gaming in general, Call of Duty is a juggernaut. So for it to put forth such little effort in Modern Warfare 3 is pretty, I would say, impressive. Like, the lack of motivation is very impressive in the way that they just don't care about their fan base, recycling multiplayer maps, recycling a bunch of different mechanics in their game, whereas people are just calling it Modern Warfare 2 with a new filter put over it. Like, it's getting pretty bad, and fans and critics are starting to speak out. So currently, the Xbox 360 version of Call of Duty 4 has a high score of 94.16, with Modern Warfare 2, which released before this, setting a record by earning 1 billion with a B in just 10 days. So with this effort, it's like they took their earnings, their profits, and just said, forget y'all. Like, basically, they ran off on a plug, not once, but twice, because this is ridiculous. Call of Duty esports obviously has a huge esports following, which, if you don't know, is when online gamers go in real life and they, well, not real life, but basically they go to tournaments and they play the game for a prize pool, right? Like, first place gets this amount, second place gets this amount. You get it, right? And the highest earning Call of Duty player is Tyler Abezy, Abezi Ferris. Tyler Abezy Ferris is the highest earning Call of Duty player, making over 1.5 million. And Ali A, I used to watch him. I remember his content. Now he's pretty fire, I ain't gonna lie. But he has over 8.7 million subscribers for his Call of Duty channel all the way back in 2015. So I don't know where the disconnect is, because Call of Duty obviously has a core fan base. That's why I said all that to say this. They have a core fan base. They've blown up many creators. I mean, some of your favorite creators named themselves after Modern Warfare. Think about that. So with that being said, I think that there has to be a new Call of Duty release soon, because this is unacceptable. Modern Warfare 3 is, in its totality, unacceptable. People talk about Mortal Kombat 1 being bare bones. People talk about, way back in the day, Miles Morales being bare bones. And at launch, you know how buggy Cyberpunk is. I mean, at least all three of those games, at least they're trying to give you some type of captivating package. For Modern Warfare 3, they just recycled multiplayer maps, recycled gameplay mechanics to the point where you don't have to improve drastically on something that's already been done, because, like I said, it's like a remaster. But at least put forth effort so that it matches the original OG game. Like, it should have everything the OG game had, and then maybe a little bit more with the upgraded hardware. At this point, it's like they're doing something. I can't even make that joke. Basically, they're telling us it's raining when we all know what they doing to us. You know what I mean? That's the most PG way I can put it. It's almost staggering the amount of effort that's missing from this installment. Because I remember playing the OG Modern Warfare games, right? And it wasn't this. It definitely didn't receive this type of criticism. And that makes me believe, even after watching gameplay of the campaign and multiplayer, which I'm playing the gameplay right now for the people over at the Analytic Dreamz video podcast channel. But you just get a sense that Activision just does not care anymore. Like, they're like, we're going to get this bag by any means. And not by any means necessary as far as effort, by any means necessary as far as screwing y'all over. So, with gaming popularity rising in the midst of COVID, and the way that it's at now, where gaming is at the best it's ever been, like, this is the greatest year in gaming. For Call of Duty to not capitalize off of that hype by putting out even a decent game, it's very interesting, because it's almost like they saw the hype as far as everybody saying this is one of the best years in gaming, and they was just like, hey, let's rain on a parade. You know what I mean? Like, forget it. Like, what's happiness to them? You know, let's take it away from them, because we don't care. So 3 to 6 hours of campaign, which you already know the Modern Warfare 3 original campaign was not way longer, but it was longer than that. Let me tell you that. In this game, they basically stripped a lot of things, which some missions, like the No Russian mission, made sense to take out, because that was back in the Modern Warfare 2. But if you don't know, they're merging some Modern Warfare 2 elements into Modern Warfare 3 and releasing it as a remaster. So when Modern Warfare 2 came, everybody was like, okay, this is pretty solid. So when Modern Warfare 3, they thought it was going to be a whole rendition like Modern Warfare 2 was. No, way bare bones, less effort put into it. It was one of those things where they let you know that they just do not care about the consumer base and how y'all care about the lack of effort, as the critics even let them know that this is unacceptable, as IGN gave it a 4 out of 10, basically saying that Modern Warfare 3 story campaign is a dull and messy affair, calling it a disappointment after a string of much stronger campaigns in the past Call of Duty games. And then GameSpot gave it a 5 out of 10, saying that the open combat missions actively distracted from its story, rendering the campaign more frustrating than compelling. And then there was other scores, but this one doesn't have it up right now. Basically, everybody was just saying that it's lackluster, rushed, somewhat forced, short, like Modern Warfare 3, a series low point, and one that should be analyzed and deciding the future of Call of Duty. Like, it's like they're questioning the future of Call of Duty. We're talking about Call of Duty, and people are questioning the future of it. So I think that's just where we're at right now with it. And it's really unfortunate that we're at this crossroads, because I feel like Respawn could easily put out that game, which everybody, all the gamers know what I'm talking about. But for the ones who, you know, may not know, there's this game called Titanfall, right? If Respawn puts out Titanfall 3, it's over. And I'm not saying like over for Call of Duty. Like, obviously they're still going to do their numbers, just like Battlefield when Call of Duty was thriving. But Titanfall 3 is such a window that I feel like they could capitalize off of, when this is the greatest year in gaming, but we still haven't had that definitive shooter that everybody gravitate towards. I mean, everybody could say CSGO or Valorant, or I think that's the big ones. That's basically it. Maybe Overwatch. I think people hate Overwatch too, so that's probably not it. Basically, a new shooter that everybody can gravitate towards, because right now people are just gravitating to the legacy games, and that's where Call of Duty comes in. It's like, wow, you really gonna give us a lackluster effort when everybody has been craving for a first-person shooter that we all can just hop on and have fun with the guys or with the girls. So with that being said, that's my wrap up of Modern Warfare 3. Obviously, this is just a review roundup. It's not my personal review of the game. It's me going over, just watching the campaign, multiplayer, reading what people are saying, seeing a lot of different articles and threads, and basically just putting that all together for y'all enjoyment. So hopefully y'all know that Call of Duty kind of put out a dud with Modern Warfare 3. But at the end of the day, the Call of Duty series has sold over 400 million units as of April 2021. So I don't think they're hurting for cash. I think they're just trying to do a cash grab in Modern Warfare 3 and telling y'all it's a full game. And really, at the end of the day, in all actuality, Modern Warfare 3 is just a glorified DLC of Modern Warfare 2. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Modern Warfare 3 as far as the Call of Duty installment? And do you think, or what do you think they could do to revive the game and make people feel like they have put forth the effort in creating the next shooter? And also, do you think if Titanfall 3 drop this year or next year, do you think it would take over the landscape of we need a new shooter like Call of Duty was supposed to? It is time for me to give my official review of No Lifing Spider-Man 2, the video game. Because when I tell you this is the sole reason I have a PlayStation, I mean it. Back with 2018, I don't know when it came out. I think it was 2018, 2019. When Spider-Man PS4 came out, I unfortunately had an Xbox during the lead up to Spider-Man PS4. So what did I do? Did the old switcheroo, went to GameStop, got my return for $9.98 for a whole console, got my PS5, and I was good to go. So from there, I never looked back. I was always like, I am a PlayStation Sony pony. And ladies and gentlemen, this game right here, from the 2018 Spider-Man PS4 to the 2020 Miles Morales DLC to the 2023 Spider-Man 2 video game, when it comes to trilogies, this is up there with the greatest. Like the greatest gaming trilogies. Like this is the type of game where you can't even compare it to other superhero games. You have to start comparing it to games like The Last of Us, the game like Uncharted, games like, I gotta throw some Xbox games in there so y'all don't think I'm a fanboy for real. The games like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to think, what do Xbox have? I mean, they just recently had Starfield, so let's stick with that. Games like Starfield. What does Xbox have? I'm not even trying to be funny. Hi-Fi Rush? I'm trying to think about legacy games for Xbox. Yeah, I can't think of any. I'm sorry. Y'all may think I'm a Sony pony, but literally Xbox does not have any legacy games. Like what, Halo? Like y'all trashed that game after a while. Y'all was like, Infinite's cool, but not anymore. I was like, what? What happened? So anyways, yeah, Spider-Man 2 is compared to just games now, not just superhero games. So Insomniac has put Spider-Man on a level where character-wise, story arc-wise, it is held up in the highest of highs as far as video game tiers, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover Spider-Man 2 from characters, and I'm gonna touch on the story as I go from character to character. Obviously, we're gonna save the Spider-Man for last, but I'm gonna go through characters, see what pops into my mind, give you my thoughts over the gameplay, the story, and that's basically it. I mean, as far as the sales, I ain't really want to get into that too much. It sold well, I believe. I actually didn't look up the sales. That's like the first time I ever didn't look up sales for a video game. I'm not trying to I don't think it was anything bad. Like I think I saw somewhere where Mario outsold it as far as like a week after, because Mario apparently right now is like one of the greatest games since the Mario and Yoshi game. I forget what that was, like Super Mario World or something like that for the Nintendo DS. Like now they're saying like this Mario game is on par with that. So that's like outselling Spider-Man at the moment. But if I had to look up sales, Interesting. Seems like it's not the greatest, honestly. I mean, first week, of course, because people got to buy the game. But after they bought it, after they bought it, can y'all tell I can't talk? I was playing. After they bought it, I think the engagement went down. It probably had something to do about the game being supremely short. I know this is one thing I do want to address. A lot of people are like, I don't know if it landed on me, because you know how they say if the shoe fits, wear it. Well, I'm wearing it. People are saying, if you know life the game, how are you going to complain about it being short? Well, let me tell you something. I know life Elden Ring, and it ain't take me no 2 to 3 days. Like, I beat this game, Spider-Man 2, I'm talking about, in 2 to 3 days. Elden Ring, I've been no life in for the longest. Still ain't beat the game. I swear I got like 40 to 50 plus hours on that game. I mean, I'm close to finishing. I probably will finish it, you know, when the DLC is announced to lead up to it. But you can no life a game and still not finish it. Spider-Man 2 is around 20 to 30 hours full platinum completion. Not just beating the main story. I heard the main story is like 20 hours at most. But 30 hours is the most for platinuming the game, which, if you don't know, is when you get all the trophies in a video game. And it seemed like Insomniac purposely made the trophies easy to get so you would platinum the game, so they could be like, oh, y'all not getting your games platinum like us. Well, that's my first critique. Spider-Man 2 is very short. It's like they really went in and calculated how much content should we give consumers for $70. It's literally like Insomniac or the higher ups, whatever, went up and was like, hey, $70, how much content should we slice that down to? And if you look at it, it's like $5 in is it $5 an hour? Sorry, I can't do math. Give me a second. Let me see. 20 times 5. No, that's not it. Let's see. 70 divided by, let's say the most. Like, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say 30. So you're paying like $3 to $4 an hour on Spotify. I mean, not Spotify, on Spider-Man 2. Obviously, I rounded up a lot, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, so the sales aren't really out of this world. They basically are saying that Starfield picked up and then Spider-Man 2 broke like its legs as far as like its rise and ascension, but now it's like kind of leveled out and Mario's kind of overtaking them. And they said Spider-Man 2 sold more on day one than Starfield did. It's not a console debate. I'm not into that. That's not really my cup of tea. I think console debates are set for people who actually get paid by either company. You know, like if Phil Spencer came out, he was like, you know what, Xbox Game Pass kind of trash. Then I'll be like, whoa, hold up now. But you know, for a random Sony pony to say Xbox Game Pass is trash, they have no equity in it. They literally are flag, or not flag, what's it called? Gang, what's it called? They're repping for a gang that they're not even getting paid for. Isn't that crazy? Anyways, okay, this is the stat I was looking for. So they said Super Mario Bros. Wonder has topped the UK physical charts for the second week as Spider-Man 2 slips to third. So obviously people bought the game day one, and then it started to lessen because they say it hasn't sold more. I'm trying to see. They said it was the fastest selling, but as far as longevity, it's not really. It's doing well because it's Spider-Man. Like, come on now. But it's down 69% in physical sales in its second week. So just to put it in perspective, Spider-Man 2 is the fastest selling game, but longevity-wise, it's Super Mario Bros. Took over. And granted, Mario as a gaming character is way more superior than Spider-Man. Like, come on now. So it is surprising to see it drop more than 69%, because if you think of it in movie terms, that basically means people went to go watch the movie the first day and then that was it, because it sold a lot, but that was it. Like, it was no like, oh, only a 20% or 30% drop, and people are gradually starting to get acclimated to the game. People knew the game was coming out, people copped the game day one, and now the sales are tailing off because basically, you know, sales don't drop like that, and Spider-Man 2 is. So with that out the way, I did want to get into some stats. So I'm, you know, calling myself Analytic Dreamz, I had to get into the analytics, or this wouldn't have been an analytic review. So I'm glad I was able to give you all that. So I'm not saying Spider-Man 2 flop. I'm just saying that it definitely didn't have the legs that we thought it was going to have, and deservedly so, because as I get into the game, you will understand that even though I'm biased in my infatuation for the Spider-Man character, I will say from a gaming standpoint, it did seem like they was holding back content to put behind a paywall in the foreseeable future. All right, so with that being said, let's get into Spider-Man 2. No pun intended. It was a little late on that. But so the story, of course, is about Peter and Miles Morales, with them coexisting in the same universe, which I think is very interesting because I'm not going to go on a whole nerd tangent, but usually it's either one or the other. Miles Morales showed up in the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker died. Peter Parker has his own universe in 616. Miles Morales does not exist. That's how it was introduced to me. So to see them coexisting is a nice change of pace, because I do believe they can both coexist. But some of the problems, even in the comics, is that they'll be having issues that they could call the other Spider-Man for, which is why they usually have one and the other. Because if Peter's having a bunch of trouble, you could say, oh, why does he not just call Miles? If Miles is having a bunch of trouble with a villain, he could ask, or people will ask, why he doesn't just call Peter? Like, they're literally just blocks away, right? So that's the whole conundrum you find yourself into when, or you get yourself into when trying to have Peter and Miles Morales in the same universe. So for this game to execute that perfectly, I think needs to be acknowledged, because this could have went horribly wrong as far as having Peter and Miles in the same universe. I will say quickly, and then I'll get to the rest of the cast. I will say that they intentionally gave Miles Morales more mesmerizing scenes. And by that, I mean the way that Mysterio is handled, the way that Martin Lee is handled, that's Miles specifically going through those trances and giving us really picture perfect moments in a Spider-Man game, if that makes sense. Also, Spider-Man going through that portal for Black Cat, where he just ended up in like what looked like a call me ignorant if you want to, but it looked like Alaska or something. Like, I don't know where he was at. He was in Poland. Like, where was that man at? And what was he swinging on? But anyways, so basically, they intentionally gave Miles Morales more mesmerizing scenes than Peter, I believe. That's my personal take on that, which I don't have a problem with. I'm just pointing it out. So I thought it was a good balance, because obviously you want to get into the Peter and the symbiote storyline. So they went to the highest degree to make Miles Morales missions stand out. I mean, okay, I'm getting into the review, so I'm not going to speak too much more on that, but they did a great job on making me interested in both Miles and Peter when it came to being Spider-Man, because obviously TV in the past and comic books in the past have not done it justice. Let's say that. So all right, let's start at the bottom and go up. So let's start with Aaron Davis, right? Aaron Davis in this game doesn't have much to work with. Basically, he's retired. Well, not retired by choice. Retired by parole officer. You know, he's on house arrest. And the biggest surprise, also, this is a spoiler review. So if you don't want to be spoiled about the game, then I would just, put this in the, I don't even know what tab you put this in, and then come back to it, or after you beat the game. So basically, Aaron Davis is playing a small role in the overarching story line in Spider-Man 2. He's basically there to showcase that he's changed, in that he has Miles' back, which is capitalized on. Capitalized? I think that's right. Basically, is capitalized by Miles Morales' mom also changing her thought about his uncle and giving him a place to stay. that was basically it. So he doesn't have too much to do. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, you had your Aaron Davis missions where you was going around collecting his tech, but it really didn't cultivate into anything except you realize his mom gave him a place to stay close to them. So yeah, that was basically it. Okay, so getting into Black Cat. Black Cat is also like Aaron Davis. It's a very small part and doesn't have anything to do with the overarching storyline, except for she gave the location for Tombstone when he was captured by Craven's villains. So I thought she was pretty used. I thought she was used pretty sparingly. I think you could have had Black Cat a lot more in this game. And by a lot more, I mean, forget an MJ mission. Imagine if we had a Black Cat mission. Like, come on now. Like, I feel like it's right there as far as having a lot of characters that are interesting, because spoiler review, remind you. But remember when you was playing as Venom, how crazy that felt? They could have had something like that for Black Cat easily. I mean, she could have been flipping around and had her own move set, but obviously that takes effort and resources. So they was like, nah, we just gonna have her in the game for like 2 minutes. Granted, that mission that Black Cat and Miles was in was straight fire. One of the standouts of the game. That's why I pointed it out at the beginning when I said she teleported him into the tundra or whatever. I thought that was pretty funny. So anyways, what else? So Black Cat had a very sparingly she was used sparingly. And I would say that she pushed forward the storyline and they didn't want to overuse her. So Black Cat is similar to Aaron Davis, as they don't have too much to do with the game. All right, so the Flame, if you don't know, Analytic Dreamz video, if you want to see me go through and talk about each and every person on this list. So getting into the Flame, which is next on my list, the Flame basically was used to set up Carnage. And I thought that was pretty cool because I did not see that twist coming. And you'll hear me say that a lot throughout this review, because I believe a great storyline is one that keeps you guessing. And me being a huge Spider-Man fan, I think I have it pinpointed to the point where I'm predicting the ending, right? I'm just completely wrong. Like, I thought one thing with Miles Morales' boyfriend, I thought she was gonna be like a villain or something, like Luke Cage or something crazy, but it ended up being like some random guy, and his daughter was the Easter egg. Like, stuff like that, they really keep you guessing throughout this whole storyline, and is very purposely written to throw you off, if that makes sense. Like Mysterio, the main guy who's actually Mysterio, running. Well, I haven't got to him yet. So anyways, the Flame is to set up Carnage, and they did a great job on that. I think they'll probably use Carnage in Spider-Man 3. Like, I don't think they'll use him in DLC at all. And we're going to get to the DLC after my review. But they're not going to use him for DLC. They'll probably use him for Spider-Man 3. So that being said, let's get into Wraith. So Wraith is basically the cop from the Spider-Man PS4 DLC, because that's when she transitions into Wraith, and you kind of see her motivation and the Spider-Man PS4 DLC. So if you didn't play it, you won't understand why Wraith is the way that she is, right? You would just think that she's just acting crazy. Like, how'd she go from being a police officer to a murdering anti-hero, right? So yeah, it definitely her character progression in the DLC makes Wraith make sense in this game, and the fight with her was great. I liked her performance. Every time she came on the screen, you could tell she was not playing around. Even when you did side missions, taking people out, and then she would join in. When you interacted with her, she wouldn't give you no high five, no nothing. Like, she was strictly business. And that's another thing, playing in this game and really taking over the fact that you're a superhero and people can join you and there's other superheroes in the world is just it's really satisfying, because I don't know if y'all know, but most superhero games, it's only that one superhero in a large city and it's all up to him. But in this game, you get a sense that it's just a plethora of other superheroes capable of taking down villains and enemies just like you are. So I like that, how you can get into a random crime and another superhero will pop in, whether it's Miles, whether it's Anti-Venom, which if you don't know, Anti-Venom can pop up in one of the random crimes in the scene, or no, after the mission where you basically rescue Tombstone. He could pop up as Agent Venom, but only as Miles. I don't know why it doesn't happen as Peter, but whatever. It has his own animations and everything. So it's a nice Easter egg to let people know not to rush through the game, because if you play as Miles, go to a random crime scene, Agent Venom will pop in. They'll have their own unique dialogue, another attention to detail, and it's just straight fire. So yeah. Wraith was fire. I got on a side tangent, but Wraith was a great continuation of the story. She was really attached to the Flame storyline, and she was also trying to catch the leader, which ended up being Cletus Cassidy, which is Carnage. So he got away, of course. He'll be used in Spider-Man 3, but Wraith was a great partner for Peter for that whole Flame arc. Tombstone was interesting because he was basically used as a damsel in distress, even though he was holding his own, quote unquote. You had to rescue him out of prison, and I thought that scene was nice because that's where you get introduced to Agent Venom. You get introduced to Harry being or having the symbiote. Because if you don't know, at the fair, when you're rescuing the people from the roller coaster, it starts to fall on Peter. Agent Venom, which is Harry, has to show up, and this is before he's Agent Venom with the suit. He just has the symbiote. He has to hold it up for Peter to save the people in a roller coaster. So I thought that was cool how Tombstone was incorporated in a way that not only he pushed the story forward, but he was also incorporated, because some of the villains in Spider-Man from Spider-Man PS4 is just completely missing. Like, where's Rhino? Where is Shocker? Where is Vulture? Obviously they was killed by Kraven, but where are they? Like, you ever heard the phrase show don't tell? They had a great moment. Once again, I'm gonna keep ragging on MJ side missions simply for the fact that they had so many interesting characters in this game. Imagine in this game where most of the game you're playing as Peter and Miles, right? But then you're also, instead of the MJ side missions, you're also having Kraven side missions where you're going and killing the villains. That would have been so fire. Like, each and every villain, you would have had a boss fight, and then the ending scene would have been Kraven killing them. Obviously, this is not an R-rated game, so it would have been had to been off screen, sort of like how he killed Scorpion, how they showed that. Like, that's how the ending scene could have been. But if you was playing as Kraven while you was taking out these different villains, because they literally just said, oh, Rhino's dead, Vulture's dead, and you learn those in the MJ missions. That's why I bring that up. Rhino's dead, Vulture's dead, oh, he clipped his wings off. Like, you're telling us all this stuff, but you're not showing us anything. The only thing they showed us was Kraven taking out Scorpion. And who cares about Scorpion? I want to see how he took out Electro, because he was like, oh, he was the easiest fight. Yeah, I bet. I want to see it. Just because y'all ain't animated, seeing is believing. So I ain't like, but honestly, how was Kraven going to take out Electro, and how is he going to take out Sandman? He was trying to take out Sandman for the longest. That's why Sandman at the beginning of the game went crazy, because Kraven threatened his family or his daughter or whatever. So he was like, I'm going to find you by any means necessary. So then he blew up to that huge monster. So that was wild. I was like, why tell us that all these villains from Spider-Man PS4 are dead and not even show us? Like, it doesn't even have to be long. Like, if you don't want to take my idea about having a playable Kraven, then at least show us the action, because it's like an Endgame. What's Infinity? No, it's like in Infinity War when they said, oh, Thanos already has the Power Stone. Like, what? You're not going to show us the scene of him going and destroying a whole entire civilization just to get the Power Stone? Like, that is one of those things which is like, come on now. Like, show, don't tell. And with Kraven and, with Ryan, Vulture, and Shocker, I was disappointed by that. I'm not even talking about how Spider-Man could have had that hilarious interaction like he did in the 90s TV show where he's yelling, Shocker, I'll chase you to the end of the earth. Like, you ever looked that up? That's peak comedy. I ain't gonna lie. The voice actor for the 90s cartoon, I don't know if he's still alive, but I'm acting like they super old. But I'm just saying, like, he just did a tremendous job in that TV show. It was just, I don't know if it was great or if it was just hilarious. I don't know. But anyways, they missed that moment. I'm not even mad about that whole Shocker and the black symbiote not interacting. It's just more about show don't tell. Anyways, so yeah, that's Tombstone. Not really too important to the story. Then we have Haley Cooper, which is Miles' significant other, well, love interest. I don't know, one of those. And she's deaf, I believe. So she has a disability. She can't hear. There's one scene in the game where she's basically going around and spray painting the walls, and I thought it was a pretty interesting scene because you don't hear anything to mimic, her disability. But at the end of the day, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was a nice change of pace and what usually the side missions are. And do I think it went too long? Maybe. I thought it was going to go too long, but then it ended. So it tests your patience, but it's definitely a pretty nice mission. Because imagine just listening to silence while doing a mission. Like, come on now. What else? Dr. Connors. So Kirk Connors, of course, turned into the Lizard. That was one of the main villains Craven wanted to hunt down and kill. I think he ended up surviving, so at least he survived. But the thing with that was the chase scene and then fighting him was amazing. And that's what made me feel like they should have shown the other heroes. Because I'm like, if that scene was so amazing, why are we not seeing that more often with the other villains? Like, there's just so many opportunities to implement villains that you literally have the license to. It's almost like it would have been different if Marvel was like, all right, we're going to use Shocker, Vulture, and Rhino in our next Avengers game. You basically have Spider-Man's whole rogues gallery and you kill him off screen? What? Makes no sense. But whatever. Lizard is just a showcase of what Insomniac can do if and when they choose to show villain boss fights. So Lizard was a standout in the game. One of the best boss fights. If I had to rank them, I guess I could do that now. I would say Venom by far. Like, come on now. Number 2 will probably be boss fights. You know, a lot of Venoms was nice. Like, Venom versus Peter on the high school football field made me feel like I was playing Ultimate Spider-Man when at the start of the game you fought Venom on that football field, just 10 times better. So that's by far number 1. Number 2, it would have to be Venom versus Craven. And then number 3, I'll probably say I want to say the Sandman fight. The Sandman fight was a nice start to the game. So yeah, that'd be my top 3. Yeah, that'd be my top 3. And so yeah, Kirk Connors survived. Basically went back into human form, trying to help out Peter with the symbiote and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, he didn't really have too much to work with. But you know, he made the most of it, I guess. Norman Osborn. Now, that is the main player, because when I tell you his arc made no sense at the end, this man went from begging on his knees for Spider-Man to save his son to seeing his son out of the symbiote, and then he's like, what did you do to my son? That absolutely made no sense. It was almost like when Star-Lord hit Thanos while they was trying to take the glove off. It was like, bro, do you not know the main mission? Like, you was told the main mission, you agreed with the main mission, and now you just completely put it in jeopardy simply because of your feelings? Like, I was so confused. Like, the way that he was like, what did you do to my son? It was like, did you not want me to take him out of Venom or not? It was like, it'd be different if his son died or something, you know, because then I'll understand, be like, dang, I told you to save my son, not kill him. But his son was obviously breathing and stuff because of Miles, like, resuscitate him. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. But yeah, he was still upset over Peter and Miles. And he kind of takes a back seat in this game, which makes sense because he's probably going to be, not probably, he is going to be the main villain of Spider-Man 3. This may be a spoiler, but I could see them going the Ultimate Comics route where he powers up into not the Green Goblin with the glider. He'll probably have that as well. But I think he'll power up in the Ultimate Green Goblin way, where he's like a hulking figure, and he'll probably get Peter the Beast and he'll probably die. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, they'll probably fight to the standstill and Peter will probably die in Spider-Man 3. Because at this point, they already said Miles is the main villain. So now, you know how Peter was the main villain, main hero of this game. Next game, Miles will be the main hero. So it's going to have a focus on Miles with side Peter, which is still the same as Spider-Man 2, because I feel like they've really balanced the two. I don't think Peter was the main Spider-Man and Miles was the second. I think they was both really balancing the storyline. So I think that's what they're going to do with Spider-Man 3. They're just doing a publicity stunt saying Miles will be the main Spider-Man. I think they're just trying to drum up some type of talk over the game because everybody beat it and it's just like radio silence. So, yeah, with Norman Osborn at the end of the game, he was basically telling Dr. Octopus, it's not Octopus, it's Dr. Octavius. Why did I say Octopus? Oh, because of the arms. I'm tripping. Dr. Octavius asking him, like, what's the names to the Spider-Man? And he was basically like, you know, I ain't going to tell you. And he's like, my son's dying. And I think he said something like good or something. I was like, dang, that boy cold-blooded, ain't he? But anyways, I believe they'll team up begrudgingly, I think that's how you say it, and take out or try to take out the Spider-Man. Because I think Norman and Dr. Octavius took a backseat for a reason. Like, I found it strange that Craven didn't go after Dr. Octavius when he was really the main villain, but I don't know. Maybe he just forgot about him. Like, what? It made sense why he didn't go after Spider-Man. That was one thing I was wondering about. I was like, why is Craven not going after Spider-Man? First, I thought it was just because he was scared of him. But then I realized, oh, he's going after somebody who will kill him if they defeat him. Like, if Spider-Man defeats him, he's going to turn him into the cops. Like, he wanted somebody to kill him, which is why when the Venom thing happened, he was like, yes, like, do it. Like, I was like, it was kind of weird because he was like dying from some type of illness. So he wanted death by battle. He didn't want death by like incarceration, like dying in prison. You know what I mean? So I think that's why he didn't go after Spider-Man. But anyways, because he always kept mentioning he was holding back. So I was like, why is he not going? But then it made sense. So Rio Morales. So basically, she's like the mayor of some, I forget, Brooklyn, I think. And this is the one thing I'm disappointed at Insomniac for. Why not play off the fact that everybody knows in Brooklyn what Miles looks like as Spider-Man? In Miles Morales, the game, at the end, he had his mask off on some train type moment, and everybody was like, he's a kid and all that good stuff. And then this game, they act like it just never happened. Like, he's putting his mask on, going around. Like, obviously, he can just be out willy-nilly, but, you know, at least have some type of nod that people know you're Spider-Man. Like, maybe I missed it. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. But people in Brooklyn seem to not know who that Spider-Man was. And I'm like, in his game, he literally had his mask off, and it was like, anyways. So with her, I think she was great to push the emotional plot. The voice actor was amazing. Obviously, going between different languages. It pays to be bilingual, and Rio Morales is definitely the epitome of that. As she delivers some fantastic lines and languages that in another language that I just don't understand. So hey, then you got Genki Lee. He was interesting. He was really the guy in the chair. Like, talk about a complete ripoff that MCU did for Peter's best friend. Like, with Ned Lee just being a complete ripoff of Genki Lee. Because if you don't know, in the comics, Genki was real popular, which is why the MCU ripped off Ned Lee from him in the comics, because they was like, Peter needs a best friend. Let's take the best friend of Miles and just give it to Peter in the MCU, and nobody would notice. Well, guess what? Everybody noticed. It was like, this is a complete ripoff of Genki. So whenever you see the best friend of Peter, Ned Lee, and the Homecoming movies, and you look at this character, just know that character came first in the comics. It wasn't like, oh, Miles then took Peter's best friend now. Like, nah, Miles had that in the beginning, and then Peter took it. So, is that cultural appropriation? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, Genki Lee basically was the ultimate guy in the chair. Really helped out a lot. So he helped out a lot with Peter and Miles. He was an intricate part of the team. And I don't know if Genki and MJ had too many interactions, but it seemed like they should have talked more. But maybe I'm tripping. Like, maybe they should have had back and forth. Like, oh, I mean, I guess that would have been like boring. Like, oh, what is your logistics on this? Well, you know, I triangulated the position and I think it's right here. Well, okay, let me run that through my system. Like, we ain't trying to hear all that. So that makes sense. But I feel like Genki and MJ was just as important to the Spider-Man team. Which is, so I am interested how Genki goes forward because I know in the comics he ended up being a villain. I don't think that happened here, but you never know. So anyways, Venom with the MVP performance. I ain't gonna lie to you. When Venom showed up, it was tumultuous times, man. It was crazy. Venom showed up and immediately you was able to play as Venom. You know what I thought Insomniac was going to do? And I don't know why they didn't do this. Literally, the opportunity, there's so many opportunities that the Insomniac missed that just seems like they was just rushed throughout the production, or maybe just somebody didn't think of it. But I just feel like it's just so obvious. Like, having Venom playable is as obvious as having Venom fight Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if Venom was playable and you didn't fight Spider-Man. Oh wait, that actually did happen. So when Venom first shows up, right, I thought we was gonna get a scene where, so basically, Venom eventually, well, Harry gets the symbiote suit back from Peter. If you already played the game, you already know what I'm talking about. Got the symbiote suit back from Peter. Then he started to grow into Venom. And then once he grew into Venom, I thought we was going to see a huge life bar pop up and it say Spider-Man. Instead, he just flings him across the room and then he's just passed out for the rest of the Venom mission. I'm like, what in the world is this? I'm like, come on. Like, I feel like the opportunity is right there. I feel like if I was a game developer and I seen that, I'm like, why not just have Venom whoop Spider-Man right there on the spot? Like what are we doing? It doesn't have to be no long fight. Like, you could have took out his health bar in like 3 or 4 shots, but still, like, make it some type of fight, because we had all the mechanics. Spider-Man already has his mechanics. Obviously, we've seen a CPU Spider-Man help out. I feel like the mechanics are already there, and they just completely botched that whole interaction. But whatever. You got to play as Venom, and it ended up being one of the better missions in the game, as at the end you took out Kraven and you bit his head off. So you basically gave him the defeat he wanted, which is defeat by death. So he wanted a death battle type scenario, which is why he never went after Spider-Man. He knew if Spider-Man beat him, it was just gonna be, turn you into the cops. So yeah, Venom at the end of just running rampant like Hulk style, just through everything, ended up biting off Kraven's head in the middle of Times Square. So there's a scene for you. Speaking of that, Kraven. All right, so Kraven, obviously main villain of the middle act. I think Kraven was done to the highest degree to make him a very intimidating villain. He had his own theme song and everything, and the voice actor was great. I do feel like we should have been able to at least see him take out the other villains in Spider-Man PS4. Like, it should have been like he took out the villains and then you cut back to the mission. Like, you know how there were certain camps where you go to it and you hear voice recordings of him talking about his family like killing each other, basically for the approval of Kraven. Some sick stuff they had going on in those voice recordings. But I think they should have also had some type of video recording that you could have seen, similar to how they did Scorpion, literally how they did Scorpion. That computer, he could have clicked on another one and seen how he took out the rest of the villains. Because I'm like, I just don't believe he's able to take out Electro. I don't care what nobody say. Electro is pretty powerful, if I do say so myself. So, not that I've, fought him or anything, because, fictional character, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? Anyways, all right. Harry Osborn. I think Harry was lackluster when it comes to voice acting. The voice actor could have been better. I don't know if it's just because he was next to Yuri for most of the game, but the dynamic was there as far as Peter and Harry's relationship. But when Harry really had to hit home those lines or those emotional delivery, I don't think he really hit it out the park. I think it was like bare bones and mediocre. So that's just a complaint I had, because it was just obvious compared to Yuri Lowenthal as Spider-Man. It was like, dang. Like imagine having to record voice lines against him. Like that man was getting outperformed. It was like if Steph Curry was shooting against Jordan Poole, it was like, dang, you really see the difference and hear the difference. But anyways, Harry as a character had a great story arc, and it made complete sense. I'm mad that the developers lied to us about Harry not being Venom. Like if they're gonna lie to us about that, then what else they gonna lie to us about? I'm like, at this point, you can't believe nothing developers said. Like they pulled the okie doke on us. They been said Harry's not gonna be Venom. So we out here thinking, oh, maybe it's Eddie Brock, maybe it's Peter. Come to find out, it's actually Harry. Like what in the world? Like y'all just gonna lie straight to our face? That's crazy. So, anyways, as you see in the gameplay, I have well, I don't know if this will play exactly when I'm talking. So, but anyways, I'll just tell you in general. I had fall damage off, so some of the gameplay you see, I may run into some stuff, and some of the gameplay also may be a little blurry, and that's because when it transition, because I record in 720 at least, but when I transitioned to YouTube, it only had 480. So I don't know, like, let me see. I don't know why that is, honestly. I gotta look at my YouTube settings, but yeah, it had 480p as like the max. So that's kind of weird, not gonna lie. I don't know why, but I record, and so what I was seeing on my screen in my game capture was a little different than what you're seeing on here right now. But whatever, I guess it's a lesson for the future. But what else? So Harry was good, and his voice actor could have been better. Let me just leave it at that. Mary Jane Watson. Moment of silence, man. Moment of silence for all the constructive feedback we gave to Insomniac after Spider-Man PS4. When I tell you they heard that and it went in one ear and out the other, I really mean it. Like they must have really thought that we was joking about not liking those MJ missions. The way that they use MJ in this game was obviously to push the storyline forward and to show us different plot points that you may have not gotten at Spider-Man, which I completely don't agree with that. But it was very much to the point where they was trying to make you feel like Mary Jane was the second coming of Black Widow. The way that she was taking out professional assassins, the way that she was taking out symbiotes, mind you, that was dodging Peter's attacks. Like you got to the point in the game where you had to only this thing in the game was is parrying. It's a new feature and the Insomniac Spider-Man. It wasn't in Miles and it wasn't in Spider-Man PS4. Basically, you have to parry attacks, right? If Peter has to parry to hit these enemy types, you gonna convince me that Mary Jane is out here one-shotting symbiotes? Like, come on, let's really think about it. Now, obviously, it's a superhero game, so I'm already suspending my belief. But when Mary Jane Watson takes a point-blank, like, dart to the chest and takes it off like nothing happened, I was like, all right, okay, bro. What are you about to tell me next? She Hulk? Like, she about to grow into a Hulk or something and start fighting them? Like, that was just really unbelievable. Like, at some points in the Mary Jane missions, it was just like, it was eye-rolling. Like, at least Last of Us with Ellie, they don't have her going through nothing that's like, oh, wow, she's a superhuman. Like, it's just human stuff, right? She took a whole tranquilizer dart from a professional assassin and kept shooting like it was nothing. At that point, I'm just like, that's bad writing. Like, it's only so much I could suspend my disbelief in a superhero game, and that's saying something. So the MJ missions was terrible. They could easily replace that with playable Kraven, taking out the villains from the Spider-Man PS4 game, or just not have her in the game. Like, not have her in the game. I'm not saying that, but not have her playable. Like, this simple. I think it's simple. Whatever. So yeah, no more MJ missions, please. Like, I'm begging you. And I already know next game they probably gonna, because it's like they're double downing on it. It's like, it's almost like when an artist puts out a bad album, everybody tells them it's bad, or not bad. When an artist puts out a bad track on a very good album, and everybody tells them the album is phenomenal except for that particular song, and then they go in and they're like, oh, part 2, Part 3 on the next album. It's like, what? Like, am I a joke to you? Like, are we giving feedback or not? Like, I'm so confused. So MJ missions was just too much. And the way that they had her playing like Ellie from The Last of Us, I feel like in Spider-Man 3, she may literally just be taking out people on some rooftop beat, like some Black Widow, Spider-Woman type beat. Like at this point, they may act like she actually has the symbiote still in her. Because if you don't know, she turns into a symbiote, which is one of the greater scenes in the game. Reminds me of when Peter from the MCU Spider-Man was in a car with Vulture and his daughter. That's how I felt with Spider-Man. Well, with Peter, Harry, and MJ in that Aunt May house scene. That was fantastic. But anyways, Venom gives MJ some of the symbiote, not by choice. And she becomes Scream. If they work it to where she still has Scream in her system, that will make sense. That will make sense. But as of now, she's just a regular human taking out professional assassins and symbiotes. Superhuman symbiote. So yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like they're just gonna double down. Like, might as well get some Call of Duty producers, Call of Duty developers while you at it for the next Spider-Man game, because MJ just gonna be out there shooting like crazy. So, anyways, Miles. Getting to Miles Morales, it's simple. Fantastic, amazing story arc. I really like how he was factuated on Lee, because that was the killer of his dad. They really pinpointed that home, because in Spider-Man PS4, I feel like a lot of the plot points wasn't built up upon with Spider-Man 2. But for Miles' dad dying in Spider-Man PS4, I love how they focus on that, because that's a real driving factor, just like Aunt May is, or Uncle Ben was, or still is, for Peter. So I love how they drove that home. The whole fighting Peter and actually winning with him having the symbiote on, I think that showcased how strong Miles is at this point in time in his arc, and showed that he's capable of becoming a main Spider-Man. So I really like how they performed that. And then Yuri Lowenthal as Peter. If he doesn't get the award for best voice actor, I ain't gonna lie, may have to throw the whole game awards away, because the performance that he gives as Peter, I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you it's night and day compared to everybody else. Like, the only one that's probably close is probably the voice of Venom, which is Tony Todd. That's the only person. Like, all of these other actors are good, right? Except for Harry. I felt like he could have did better. But all the other voice actors are top notch, right? Even Miles. Miles does a great job. Najee Jeter, he does a great job as Miles. But I'm telling you, when Yuri Lowenthal starts to voice act, it really is like watching Steph shoot versus watching other people shoot. Like, his range, especially, not to mention, especially when they go to the younger missions as younger Peter, and the way he changes his vocal inflection compared to current time Peter, classic. Master class on how to voice act in the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it was really some special stuff, and it made even more sense when they told me he was the voice actor for Sasuke. I was like, it was anime voice actor. They have all type of range, don't they? So, anyways, he did fantastic, and Peter as a character, I will say that the way that he went throughout the game and kind of dealt with Aunt May's passing seemed to be easier than I thought he would have took it, if that makes sense. Like, I know they showed him flashbacks of him crying when Aunt May died and stuff like that, and thinking it was his fault. But I feel like the arc of MJ not moving in with him was weighing on him more than Aunt May dying, which, maybe that was intentional. But I feel like the Aunt May part should have been more prominent. But maybe some people disagree with me, because, I feel like they was both prominent. I'm just nitpicking at this point. Peter's storyline and arc, along with Miles, which is executed, it was just excellent execution with both of their story arcs. It's just obvious stuff in this game that they left out that could have been implemented, that's already there. 2 playable Spider-Man co-op, that's literally the foundation for co-op. You already have the mechanics. If you had co-op with the I forget what the mode is called, but it's basically when you go till you die. I forget what that's called. If you had that type of mode and had leaderboards, like, that would have been insane. obviously it probably would have broke the game, because now that I'm done with the characters, let's get into the overall game, right? The bugs and glitches are out of hand. Y'all gotta stop releasing these games with multiple game breaking bugs. My game restarted 2 to 3 times, and I'm telling you, the amount of bugs that I had where I couldn't advance the mission, where I had a restart checkpoint, was more than double digits. So I'm like, the amount of vitriol that Cyberpunk 2077 got, I'm not saying Spider-Man 2 is on the same level. But as far as bugs and glitches and game breaking bugs, I don't know if people was really pinpointing that like they were for Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I think that's a double standard right there. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, imagine if Starfield had game breaking bugs and glitches that led you to believe that this game was rushed. I don't think y'all would ever let them live that down. So yeah, the bugs are out of hand. They really do need to fix this game. Like, I thought Jedi Survivor frame rate was laggy at times. Spider-Man just sometimes straight up just like glitches out. Like, you would be in a mission and one of the last people you got to take out would be like underground and you can't hit them, so now you got to restart the checkpoint. Or one of those birds will fly into a building and now you can't hit it, so now you got to restart the checkpoint. Or you'll defeat all the enemies but the game won't notice, so now you're just walking around, now you got to restart the checkpoint. Or you're playing in the game and you do this move and the game completely breaks down, blue screen, now you got to restart the mission. Like it's so many bugs, and those are like only a few of the multiple bugs I ran into. So for that alone, it definitely can't be game of the year. Like, it's just broken. Game breaking bugs are not really acceptable for me, because if it's bugs where you can get past, I don't care. Like, if it's bugs where it's clipping, stuff like that, I don't care. But game breaking to where I have to restart the checkpoint or restart the entire game multiple times, you can't have game of the year. Not for this year. For this time span, the release window, your game was a buggy mess. So I still have Jedi Survivor as my favorite game of 2023. But from a bias standpoint, I would personally prefer to play Spider-Man more. But from a game package and from a gamer perspective, Jedi Survivor is still my game of the year. So I know I titled that for episode 131, and I did that on purpose because I wanted people to think that I was going to say this game was game of the year, but definitely not. I don't even know if it's in my top 3, honestly. Like, right now, I go off of what I've played and also what I see. So for me personally, it's Jedi Survivor, it's Baldur's Gate, it's Armored Core. I would say, let me see, what other games have I played? I would say Remnant 2, and then fifth, I would either say Zelda or Mario. Actually, no. I haven't even thought about this list. I'm just going off the top. I would change Zelda or Mario to number 2. So I would say Jedi Survivor, Mario or Zelda, because I don't think you can have both from Nintendo in one category. Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core, and then I would say Remnant 2. So yeah, so Spider-Man 2 doesn't even make my list, honestly. And it's not because it's a bad game. It's don't even hey, this game is amazing. But it's just the bugs. Like, from a objective standpoint, it's just not a complete game. It's buggy mess. A lot of modes are missing. Easy implement, like easy mode to implement is co-op, like or some type of local co-op. Like, you already have the gameplay mechanics. The other Spider-Man already jumps in to save you for different random crimes. It's like, come on, it's right there. And I feel like they was just, I don't know if they was rushed, if they was lazy, I don't know what it was, but it's not in the game. So that's just unacceptable. So with that being said, that is my Spider-Man 2 review. I'm trying to think of anything else. I'll probably just go all over the place at this point. As far as the story overview, Venom by far was the standout, best villain of the game. I like when I go about character because I break it down pretty. I didn't even think Mysterio wasn't even on this list. That's funny. So Mysterio, talking about him, he was a plot twist that I give credit to the whole writer's staff. The way that they wrote this whole story was fantastic. I would think this will happen, that would happen. I would think C would happen, D would happen. Like, it was just very great with this plot twist, to the fact that I thought Mysterio was actually bad, but it was the people he was surrounding himself with that was using his technology against him to take out Spider-Man, I guess. I don't know what they thought they was about to do with that technology. But yeah, so that was a nice plot point, and Mysterio had a pretty nice presence with that. I'm trying to think, anything I missed. I think it's basically it. Venom. I wish it was more Venom. That's the only thing I would say. They obviously took from Spider-Man Web of Shadows as far as inspiration, which is nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know, as long as you're improving upon it, which they definitely did. But I wish Venom, I think Venom section probably lasts about 2 hours, maybe 3. Could have been longer. Definitely could have had a longer build up of Spider-Man trying to find Venom and then getting to the point where he's putting the rock together and taking over the whole New York. Because the way that Web of Shadows did it, it was already laid out for you. Could have had way more game. But like I said, I feel like they looked at that total price, split it by hours, and they was like, all right, this is as much content we're going to give them. And I was like, dang, shame on them, because I already know DLC is coming. Apparently is, you know, I said I was going to speak on that at the end, but apparently Daredevil DLC is coming, so it's going to be completely different from this storyline. So none of these plot points are going to keep showing up, which is interesting. But so we have to wait to a whole nother game to get more Venom. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't know if everybody can wait for that 19. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people fiend for it. Some people do the unthinkable for that 19. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I'm in my review. So anyways, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. Do you think Spider-Man 2 is the greatest game of 2023? And if you don't, what is your favorite game that's came out this year? Former head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, Shawn Layden, has some interesting concerns that even me, myself, I've been thinking about this for quite some time now, as gaming really catapulted off of COVID to the point where almost all of the revenue dollars for gaming has increased, whether it's a streaming lane, whether it's the professional gamer lane, whether it's a game developer. Well, some of these developing studios are going out of business, but that's another point. So probably not them, but you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of different avenues in the gaming space now to generate a nice living for yourself. So when Shawn Layden came and basically pointed out the biggest issues in gaming, I thought it was pretty interesting, as he pointed out some very interesting details that I've been thinking about, but I haven't been able to explain it like he did in this clip right here. So basically, if you don't know, there's a new episode for Lucas Egan, I believe, and it's called the Land Parties Pod, and he had Shawn Layden come on to talk about some of the biggest issues for gaming. And then this was a snippet for the episodes. Of course, here's the link. If you want to see the video element, Analytic Dreamz video on my Spotify channel to see the video along with the audio. But there's the link right there, and his Twitter page if you want to go to it and click that link. But anyways, here is the snippet for the episode that's already out with Shawn Layden.
Strangely enough, though, in gaming, of course, we have that weird kind of elasticity on the cost it takes to create a game, but non-elasticity on the price you can charge for a game. So whilst, making a game in PlayStation 1 era, there were really solid sub-$1 million games, and even some of the bigger games in PS1 era, those were $5 or $6 million games, and you could charge $59.99 for it. You come up to today, and you have these enormous, massive narrative experiences or huge scope RPG that go on for tens of dozens of hours. which costs in excess of $100 or $150 million to make, and yet you can only charge $59.99 for it. So it doesn't take a whole lot of math to see how eventually you get to the pinch point. In fact, I think we're there, where in order to substantiate taking the triple $1 million risk in building a game, you got to understand it's incumbent on game producers, and particularly in the finance department, to do their best to de-risk the proposition. You know, how do we pull some risk out? And some of the risk you take out of it is innovation, because innovation is risk. So you end up seeing a lot of people leaning into sequels because we have the previous iteration of the game. We knew how many it sold. We know there's a captive audience of X million people who will probably buy it if we build it again. You know, part 2, part 5, part 9. And that's one way to de-risk it, is to go to what.
All right. So basically, he pointed out how the cost of making a game is exponentially larger than the price you could set for said game, which I've been saying as a consumer, called me crazy, but it's almost like looking at something improve, stay at the same price range, and you're like, you know, I would pay more for this type of experience, granted, if you do it right, because to be the devil's advocate, which I gotta come up with another word, because, you know, I ain't advocating for the devil, but to argue the other side, I would say a lot of these games nowadays are coming out a buggy mess to the point where even the price tag that they set is unjustifiable, whether it's a Cyberpunk when it first came out, whether it's 2K was asking way more money after the $70 price tag in terms of VC, whereas you can't even play the game. $70 to get 2K basically is just to get the quick play mode, because if you want to get into my career, you have to pay way more money to even compete with other gamers. Then there's other games where it just comes out a complete buggy mess. Already said Cyberpunk. Spider-Man 2, I'm sorry, I gotta throw it in there. Definitely a buggy mess right now. And for that, I do believe that there's some leeway, or there's some common ground we can get to with the price point set for games versus the price it takes to make a game, because I do believe that they should at some point raise the bare minimum price, because if you don't know, most basically gaming is an expensive hobby. It's not a hobby for everybody to enjoy, right? It's not one of those like, oh, it's not like food or water, right? You don't need to game. So it's an expensive hobby. It's a luxury. So if you can't afford it, then there's things out there that lends you to be able to afford it, like bargain bin deals, discounts, in-store credit. Like, there's a lot of different games that you can get at a discounted price, so that these games, when they first come out, I feel like the premium price, I could see it justifiably being raised. As a consumer, I know I probably sound crazy advocating for companies to increase their price point, but hey, that's where I'm at as a gamer. So anyways, he also went on to talk about other things as far as larger game publishers hindering creativity, because if you don't know, if you have a backer who's funding everything and you try to do this creatively, but he's like, hey, I'm paying for this, you're going to do this, and maybe it's worse, but guess what? Now you got to go with it because he's already done funded so much and he could pull out at any second. So then you have large conglomerates slowing down the creative process, according to Shawn Layden. This is also his words. I played the snippet, but the whole interview is out, so I'm getting into all his key points. Then he went into non-endemics, I think that's how you say it. Companies like Google, Netflix, Apple, Amazon entering the gaming sector are viewed as potential disruptors, which kind of makes sense. Gaming, like I said, grew larger when COVID happened, because entertainment outside stopped completely, of course. So where do people get their entertainment from, or the escapism? Because, you know, you had to be in the house. Like, COVID at its peak, it was like, we don't know what this does to your body, so everybody just stay in the house. So what did people started to do more of? Game. So gaming rose to new heights, similar to how when Fortnite first came out, a lot of people who never game in general just started to pick up a game just to play with their friends, right? That's kind of how gaming blew up in COVID. It was like a Fortnite part 2. It was like a whole new explosion of new gamers. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so then Shawn Layden went into industry disruption, which I already talked about that. Studio acquisitions, he also talked about that as a problem, saying that the acquisitions of small independent studios by larger conglomerates definitely will stifle creativity, and studios may be absorbed into larger enterprises, affecting their independence. And then he talked about how that, just affects the whole console, well, not even console. He said Sony and Microsoft, but basically the console war going on, how it affects that, and how those two conglomerates are basically racing to acquire the most studios. And Shawn Layden believes that this may lead to less creativity as more teams are focused on servicing blockbuster projects, which I'm not mad at. God of War was pretty solid. Ragnarok, besides the trillion puzzles they put into the game to increase runtime, it was pretty solid as a game as far as gameplay mechanics. Spider-Man 2, I don't care if it was a buggy mess, I still completed it, and it was a fire game from start to finish. Last of Us, I've never played Last of Us, not gonna lie. Ratchet and Clank, straight fire. I'm trying to think of other ones. Horizon Forbidden West. Those are just some I'm naming off. I'm not gonna name off all of them, but basically I like the blockbuster games. I feel like if you have a cohesive unit putting together a game and it turns out like this, then I'm okay with it. Like if they was putting out some trash, like if God of War, Spider-Man, if all those was like trash games, then I'll be like, okay, let's try some new IP. But I think the route they're going is pretty on point, because if you don't know, Sony's by far and away winning the console war, and I'm not even like a Sony pony. I mean, I have a PlayStation simply because of Spider-Man, but that's why PlayStation is winning the race, because people are looking at PlayStation like, oh, I can play these games and I can't play it on Xbox. That's why Microsoft, like Shawn Layden alluded to, is out here literally buying whole developing studios like a Bungie, like a Activision. They're really going into getting whole development studios so that they have a plethora of games under their umbrella. So really, in the long run, Microsoft could end up being 10 times or having 10 times more exclusives, good exclusives, than Sony. But right now, it still looks like Sony is winning the console race. And then Shawn Layden went into importance of preservation, saying that the cultural and historical importance of preserving games for future generations, and also call for industry players to realize that their responsibility in preserving gaming content. And gaming, if you don't know, has a very horrendous preservation problem, because I don't know what it is, but nobody loves to keep the old consoles. They either throw it away, they don't clean it or keep it up to date. Basically, they end up breaking to the point where we don't really have too many retro old consoles, and if you do, you could probably look on the market and sell it for a pretty penny if you was wanting to. But I would definitely, it's like stock at this point, like not that FTC or whatever, FTX, whatever that scam stuff was. I'm talking about actual investing into your old retro consoles and keeping it up to date, clean, and things of that nature, so that in the future you could probably sell it, like I said, for a pretty penny. So, because I don't know why, but gaming is really struggling with preservation issues. So with that said, Shawn Layden also reiterated concerns about the impact of gaming industries creatively, with the big studios getting involved, which, I mean, that's going to happen with any form of entertainment. If somebody's going to come to the table, realize that you're bringing something creatively, so they want to fund it, no matter how creative you are, if they're funding it, they're going to want you to do certain things that works for them. So if they want you to put out a game and you want to include this character, but they're like, this character is so cool, we got to put this in DLC because that's going to boost sales via Street Fighter 6 and Akuma, then you're going to listen to your investors, because one of the biggest things that companies love to do is look at the stakeholders and be like, hey, whatever y'all want, we're going to do it, because you don't want that money to suddenly disappear. So with that being said, I think Shawn Layden is definitely onto something in this podcast. I mean, of course, you can listen to it for yourself. I have it up right here as far as Lucas Egan, and Shawn Layden. I don't know how long the episode was, but that was just a little snippet that I played for y'all, and wanted to get into his overview thoughts. But definitely, he goes into more detail as far as all of the points that I highlighted. But at the end of the day, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about gaming preservation? And also, do you think gaming has a problem with Microsoft and Sony racing to acquire game development studios? Do you think that would be a good thing for gaming, or do you think in the long run it will be bad for gamers? A lot of people believe that Megan Thee Stallion's years-long battle was only with Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez. But what they do not know is that one of the biggest behind the scenes beefs that we've seen in the music industry for quite some time now has been Megan Thee Stallion versus 1501 Certified Entertainment. And the reason why this is such a huge dispute is simply for the fact that the person over 1501 Certified Entertainment, Carl Crawford, has a lot of different ties in the music industry, making it very difficult for Megan Thee Stallion to navigate when it comes to releasing, marketing, and collaborating with certain musicians. With that being said, that means she's beefing with some pretty powerful people. Put Tory Lanez to the side. 1501 Certified Entertainment themselves have made Megan's life very difficult to navigate musically. So now with the update in this case involving an amicable parting of ways between Megan Thee Stallion and 1501, we've came to a conclusion finally. And the way that this conclusion has been settled after years of battling back and forth with her own label, they have finally agreed to part ways and not talk about it. So there's an NDA signed on both sides, it seems like, because Megan Thee Stallion hasn't talked about it, and 1501 put out a statement, which if you look at Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify, you will see the video version along with the audio. But basically, 1501 and Certified Entertainment put out on their Instagram page that, quote, Megan Thee Stallion and 1501 Certified Entertainment are pleased to announce that they have mutually reached a confidential settlement to resolve their legal differences. As part of the arrangement, both parties have agreed to amicably part ways. I can't talk. Both Megan and 1501 are pleased to put this matter behind them and move forward with the next chapter of their respective business. 1501's president, Carl Crawford, said, quote, all of us at 1501 wish Megan the very best in her life and career. Well put by 1501 Entertainment, basically not telling us how much royalties or excessive charges was placed on Megan Thee Stallion, you know, because technically 1501 was suing for over $1 million in damages. No. Megan Thee Stallion filed a complaint seeking over $1 million in damages. So 1501 obviously wasn't wishing her the very best in her life and career, because they was trying to ruin it. And Megan Thee Stallion started to run up the numbers and realized that they costing her millions of dollars. So with that being said, with this statement is very interesting, and nobody even talked about the actual contractual numbers of the agreement. It's basically like, oh, we came to an agreement and now we're gonna let her go. Like, what happened? Like, I want to know what happened. As a certified researcher of hip-hop, I gotta know what happened. Like, did some Suge Knight type of pill happen where they met one of Megan's agents and they was like, hey, you gonna make her sign this whether you like it or not, like Suge Knight did Eazy-E? Or was it just or was it the other way around? Did Jay-Z pop up? Because if you don't know, Roc Nation, which is under Jay-Z, it was trying to sign Megan Thee Stallion, but Megan Thee Stallion claimed that the deal was below industry standards when it came to 1501 certified entertainment, which is why she was trying to go to Roc Nation and and she went to court to do this, to get her unfair contract settled or disputed or whatever. So, anyways, basically, she said that, 1501 came out and said that she's not meeting contractual obligations because she's now releasing music. Like, she put out a track called like Something for the Hotties. I think it was like a whole project. And 1501 was like, nah, we need some of that because you ain't fulfill your contractual obligations. So now we need all of that. Like, we talking about millions of dollars that 1501 is coming after. So for this settlement, it's confidential for a reason, right? Millions of dollars out in the wind. Both parties expressed some dissatisfaction with what they was receiving. So now, for them to come to an agreement, I gotta know what happened. Y'all not finna do this for years. Come to agreement, and I'm not gonna know which side is right. Like, at the end of the day, I feel like this is the Tory Lanez Megan Thee Stallion situation all over again. They made a huge deal, went to court, they came to a conclusion, and I still don't know what happened. Like, literally, if you ever watched the Tory Lanez, or not watched, but read about the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion trial, they said the exact same thing they were saying before they went to court. Like, I thought we was going to get some details like, oh, okay, he shot me right here. That's why this and this. Like, basically, it was the same exact details we was getting before the case, and then they came to the conclusion, right? The same things we was hearing with 1501, saying that Megan hasn't fulfilled her contract obligations. Megan Thee Stallion saying that, her contract with 1501 was below industry standards, so that it should be disputed. So I'm like, now it's like, now that they came to an agreement, I was like, who's right? Like, I don't know which side is right in this whole equation, which seems to be a common factor when it comes to Megan Thee Stallion and problems that are existing with her. So, obviously, I'm not targeting Megan Thee Stallion because 1501 seems like they have been satisfied with the agreement. So, something happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened. And so, since this is finalized, Megan Thee Stallion finally dropped a new single titled Cobra, making it her first release since leaving 1501 and the resolution of the legal battle. So now Megan Thee Stallion is back again to come back in full force, which Cobra's been out. But I wanted to cover the contractual side of why she's just now putting out music. So with that being said, Cobra, as far as a track, I'm not really gonna give a review. I'm just gonna say it's fire. Like, I can't go into detail because Megan Thee Stallion can really rap, so I couldn't listen to it like once or twice or two or three times and pick out what's my favorite part of it. But as far as the entire track, Megan Thee Stallion is back like she never left, and I never really doubted that she would out rap her competition because her competition is like people like Sexy Red. So, and I'll take that back. I mean, Megan Thee Stallion is put up there with the lyricists. So I would say a Nicki Minaj, a Lotto is probably her competition. So, can't disrespect Megan Thee Stallion's pen, because one of the more blown away moments I've ever experienced was when I was watching the Double XL freestyle and DaBaby and Megan Thee Stallion was going back and forth like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Like, they was really bouncing off each other. Is that a pause? I guess not. I don't know. They was going crazy with the freestyle on that Double XL cup. And if you don't believe me, look it up. The way they was rapping, they was running that beat, and it was insane to experience. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Megan Thee Stallion and 1501 Certified Entertainment finally coming to a settlement after years-long battle between both of them? And since we didn't receive any details, which side were you on? And now, which side do you believe came through as the victor? DJ Akademiks has came a long way since covering the war in Chirac. From calling people Chirac savages to Grim Reapers. Now, fast forward into current day, current time, he is beefing with the likes of Glorilla. So technically, it's progress, right? Anyways, basically DJ Academics is quote unquote going against Glorilla for her comments over Kai Cenat, and not Kai Cenat specifically, but also bringing in Academics while offering her apology to Kai Cenat. If you're confused, let me break it down. So Glorilla, right, is a rapper. If y'all didn't know, with Sexy Red blowing up nowadays, it seemed like people just forgot about Glorilla. But hey, let me remind y'all, she does make music and puts it out on DSPs. One of her latest tracks that she put out was titled Cha Cha Cha, which, if I had to tell you a blatant lie, I would tell you that it's the greatest track of all time, right? Just keep that in mind. Kai Cenat, which is a content creator, came out and basically gave a negative review of her song Cha Cha Cha. So what does Glorilla do? She does the most logical thing you can think of, which is to block somebody, right? I mean, if somebody disagrees with you, why not just block them? Isn't that just a more peaceful society, Blocking somebody always fixes the problem, right? Obviously not. So Kai Cenat basically realized that he was blocked on stream, like live on stream, and he got not upset, but he was like, dang, like, I guess they had some history as far as him liking her tracks or whatever, and thought that was cool to the point where he thought if he criticized one track, he didn't know she was gonna blow up off of that. So basically she did. Kai Cenat didn't care, of course, went on with the stream. And then later on, when Kai Cenat was doing his live stream from jail, which a lot of people had critiques over, but that's another subject for another day, he realized that Glorilla tweeted out that she's drunk and might mess around and unblock Kai, to which Kai responded and said, stand over there. Basically, stand on that side and don't switch over. You chose your side, no need to switch up now, because everybody started to get at Glorilla for blocking Kai Cenat, a streamer, a content creator, over his opinion over a track. So with that being said, Glorilla tried to basically plead and tweet about getting Kai Cenat touched in jail, quote unquote, and going at Kai Cenat in a way that made Academics respond, because Academics was basically saying Glorilla was not gangster to be talking to Kai Cenat, who is a content creator like that. And that is where the back and forth came from Academics and Glorilla. Academics jumped in, calling Glorilla an idiot, quote unquote, and said that she mistakenly believed Kai Cenat was in jail, which honestly, if I had to give my personal perspective, I think what happened was Glorilla was actually trolling with Kai Cenat, but not with Academics. So once Academics called in or jumped in to call out what I feel like was a troll from Glorilla towards Kai Cenat, I think that's where things got messy. If Academics would have stood out of it, I think it would have been all good and what they say, fine and dandy or whatever. But after Academics called Glorilla an idiot and a goofy, I mean, she had no choice but to respond. So basically, she responded to Academics saying a bunch of things. I'm not going to go through all the tweets. It's all public knowledge, and it's really not important enough to reiterate. All you need to know is that they was trying to roast each other back and forth, and basically came to a common ground of nothing's gonna happen because of this back and forth. It's basically them just throwing insults over each other by typing in a keyboard. So with that being said, I think the biggest thing to highlight with this is rappers and reviewers. Artists are very sensitive when it comes to their creations because it's like a baby to them. Like literally they're creating this sometimes from scratch, most times not, but basically it's their baby, right? They're creating it, has their name on it, their likeness, and they want it to be received well, sort of like anybody who's ever had something they created and are proud of. They wouldn't want to put it out for the consumption of the world, and then the world tells them it's trash. Nobody wants that to happen, but the way that you go against reviewers and critiques is not just to block them on social media and show them that you're offended. I would understand blocking if Kai Cenat went on some tangent about something off out of the industry or out of the music. But simply speaking on Cha Cha Cha, he kept it pretty light, saying that it wasn't for him. It wasn't like he just called it straight up trash, dog water, worst thing he ever heard. He didn't even say all that. He basically said it's not for him. So basically, Akademiks definitely should have stayed out of Kai Cenat and Glorilla's beef. But Glorilla, in the first place, shouldn't have blocked Kai. And Kai Cenat in this whole scenario, which is caught up in the mix. So maybe this is why he doesn't strictly review hip hop, because he knows that you hip hop artists will get offended if he gives you a negative review. There was allegedly reports that Offset was supposed to be on Kai Cenat's live stream from jail, but apparently Kai Cenat didn't like his album, so he ended up not going to the live stream. If you remember, Offset was in the jail trailer for the Kai Cenat jail live stream, but he didn't show up in the actual stream. Why is that? Because apparently Kai Cenat didn't like his album. That led to Offset not going to his live event in jail, which in turn goes back to my point, whereas I'm saying artists versus critiquers, you got to understand their place in their industry. They have to tell or speak their mind. I would not advise you to follow anybody who you feel like could be swayed by somebody just acknowledging them or giving them a shout out wherever they're living at, right? So with that being said, I do believe that at the end of the day, Glorilla is getting replaced by Sexy Red. And let me tell you, as a marketing person myself, going at DJ Akademiks and Kai Cenat is the quickest way to end your career. And I think Glorilla will eventually, and probably already has eventually, or subsequently, I think that's how you say it. Y'all know the word I'm trying to say, right? I'm not taking that out either. I'm leaving that in there. So, anyways, Glorilla recognizes the mistakes that she's made, but I do believe that she will rectify them at some point in the future, because public perception already has replaced you with Sexy Red. You do not want the pioneers, and not even the pioneers, the biggest of the biggest influencers like a Akademiks, like a Kai Cenat, to say that your music is not good and you're falling off, because if that ends up being the narrative, goodbye to Glorilla's career. So that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Glorilla versus DJ Akademiks? And what is your take on this whole situation? And who do you think was in the wrong? When it comes to music, I think you have to have a certain fan base that specifically enjoys the music that you're putting out. Now, you think that would go without saying, but sometimes people glamorize the reality portion of it or the extracurricular activities of promoting something. But at the bare foundation, you need to have good music. And I think for City Girls, the focus has been off of music for quite some time. So that's why I believe that with this album they just put out titled Raw, sold 10,000 album equivalent units in its first week, debuting at number 117 on the Billboard 200 albums chart. So not even singles. We're talking about 117 when it comes to albums. So technically, it did chart. I mean, if you want to throw some type of W in there, technically it did chart at 117, but that's besides the point. So City Girls is under Atlantic, I believe. I know they're under a major label, but the last time I looked at it, I believe they're under Atlantic. So if you're under a major label, at the bare minimum, you need to be selling at least 20,000. Not only is this a bad look for the City Girls selling 10,000 album equivalent units in its first week, is also a very bad look for whatever major label they're under, because that lets other musicians know that if you don't even promote your album, because City Girls seem like they're concerned with everything but music. JT is basically being a service worker for Lil Uzi, Carisha is out here talking about getting peed on by P. Diddy, ironically. And now they put out music together, coming back as the City Girls, thinking that Act Up was going to last all the way into 2023. And now they've sold 10,000 units first week. So I'm not hating on the City Girls at all. Just literally telling you where the perception lies for these two musicians. So basically, the album that they put out titled Raw was under Quality Control Music, which is exclusive license to Universal Music Group Recordings, one of the biggest labels in the music industry. They could have bought more than 10,000 units themselves. So that lets me know that even the label has given up on City Girls. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear an announcement of JT going solo and then her being completely independent, or Carisha, I just completely felt like she could do her own show, which is Carisha Please, and she'll be all right. Like at this point, she has fell into that reality show lane. She's more of a Christian Rock than Christian Rock is. Like, I feel like Carisha could really go with the reality portion of her career. But hey, that's left to be seen, because of course the whole Diddy connection is a little tough to get that camera around while y'all are interacting, and Diddy's a billionaire. So I don't know if she'll have to get with somebody else. I'm just saying, I feel like her show, Carisha Please, having the limited amount of episodes it has, and already having back-to-back, hip-hop platforms of the year from BET, I think that's very telling in the direction that Diddy wants her to go in. So obviously he wants her to get money outside of music, and he's giving her a platform and a lane to do so. Because if you don't know, Diddy was in talks for acquiring BET, but for some reason that went through. I don't know why. But JT, on the other hand, I don't know what she's gonna do. I mean, she's mentioned she's, tough times, poor timing. When regarding the album, she said it was a lack of strategy and poor management. Basically, nobody cared about this album, and the sales show for it. I mean, if you're under Quality Control Music, the same label that birthed Migos, the same label that birthed Little Baby, a bunch of other artists under that whole umbrella, and bare minimum, exclusive license on the Universal Music Group Recordings, they could easily buy more than 10,000 album equivalent units themselves. So this lets you know blatantly that they just don't care about y'all. And if you ever have time to watch the Breakfast Club interview with JT and Carisha, they basically come out and say that. I mean, they basically say that, hey, people didn't really care about this album. We've been wanting stuff to come out. They said no. So this is the time we had to put it out. So basically, they ain't care. We ain't care. Nobody cared. I was like, dang, why the album even out then? Like, I feel like the only people who cared is the people who bought the album. I mean, you would think that's obvious, but at this point, maybe I'm rethinking that. Maybe people bought the album at a pity. Maybe they was like, hey, City Girls, they kind of struggling right now. So let's just buy the album to let them know that we care a little bit. So anyways, I think the City Girls will be all right. After all that I just said, I think they'll be all right. As far as the future plans, I already talked about that with Carisha. I really don't know what direction JT could go in. I would definitely say keep featuring on other people's songs and try to come out as a solo act. Because if Uzi, being your boyfriend or whatever he is, doesn't get you some type of longevity in the music industry, I always talk about the power of a cosign. If you get a cosign from Uzi, like a real cosign, like Uzi showing up on your album type cosign, you will sell way more than 10,000. I think that's the bar right now. Just sell more than 10,000. 15 to 20, you can come out and say, hey, that's an improvement. And then the next time, try to get higher and then higher. So I think JT should go the single musician route. I think Carisha should go the podcaster route, or not even podcast, it's just a hip hop show route, or just a life show route, as Angela Yee does, and basically showcase her personality more, because Carisha Please, from the episodes I've seen, is pretty entertaining. So with that said, I know a lot of City Girl fans out there are pretty devastated with these lack of sales, but just know one flop doesn't make them irrelevant. They're still relevant in a lot of other spaces other than the music industry. So you'll still see JT and Carisha popping up and probably the most like prestigious places with a P. Diddy or Uzi. So with that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about City Girls and their lack of sales for their album Raw? And what do you think is the biggest reason for them selling so low with their album? Getting into the overview of the pod for episode 131, of course, titled Greatest Game of All Time, exclamation point, question mark. Simply for the fact that I finally gave my Spider-Man 2 review after beating it in 2 to 3 days. So, and of course I 100% completed it because, you know, that's just the type of nerd sweat I am, you know. So at the end of the day, I love giving my review of the things I've played. And so I gave a lot of different aspects of my perspective in my Spider-Man 2 review, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So with that being said, of course we started with the GOAT of music, which is Drake, and talked about how For All the Dogs is aging like fine wine and is one of the greatest albums that he's ever put out, and I gave some statistics to back that up. Then we transitioned into the queen of pop at this moment in time, I could probably say, as she had one of the best years as a musician I've ever seen in life, statistically, and I would say quality wise, but she re-released music, so I don't know if that counts, if that makes sense. But anyway, she's nominated, of course, for a lot of awards at the at the Billboard Music Awards and at the Grammys. So I wanted to point that out, as obviously those award shows didn't care that she re-released or re-put out music that she re-recorded, because she's nominated for Grammys and Billboard Music Awards. So we're going to see how many awards she brings home, as I'm thinking it's going to be a record-breaking amount. Like, they may mess around and joke that the Billboard Music Awards was just the Taylor Swift Awards at the end of this award show cycle. I think Taylor Swift would have broken a plethora of records at the Billboard Music Awards and the Grammys. So anyways, after that, we transition into TikTok and Billboard partnering. Basically, the biggest thing that you didn't know is that TikTok realized their space in the music industry to a point where Billboard had to accommodate with them. They had to come to some common ground, consolidate some of the assets, and realize that a strategic partnership, was probably the best thing to do to move forward. Because at a certain point, people were just trying to take TikTok off of the map completely. And then the legal process, whatever, was just probably like, hey, we're not doing that. So I guess now they have to work with TikTok. So Billboard is now partnering with TikTok with the Billboard music, the top 50 Billboard Music Awards for TikTok. Very confusing. And of course, at the top of them is people like Taylor Swift and, surprisingly, a Sexy Red. So we're going to see how this shapes up and how this actually affects the music industry going into the future. Then also we transition to SAG-AFTRA finally reaching an agreement with the studios. This is his humongous deal. Even though a lot of movies and TV shows got pushed back simply for the fact that studios did not want to come out of pocket to pay for something that they could easily use AI for. So SAG-AFTRA, which is the actors, they finally came to an agreement because, one, they got a raise in pay, and also they were able to implement stronger guidelines and barriers to studios using AI in their creative process. So it's a win-win for the studios and the actors, because the actors can go back to work, the studios can start making money. But obviously, with the studios coming out of pocket more, I'm pretty sure some of the lesser known actors and TV shows are going to start getting canceled because the studios are going to start deeming them as too expensive. So it's a gift and a curse. But at the end of the day, all you need to know is the actors are now officially done striking. Then we switched over to the gaming side, got into Modern Warfare 3, talked about how which is one of the greatest games. Nah, I'm just joking. Modern Warfare 3 is a testament to you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, because Lord knows, if you would have told me in 2023 a remastered version of Modern Warfare 3 was going to be trash, I would have called you a straight up liar. Because the amount of not caring that had to go into making this project or this product had to be immense, because the way that Activision put out this semi DLC for Modern Warfare 2, that's what I'm calling it. I'm not even calling it Modern Warfare 3 no more. This semi DLC charging a full $70 price tag and thinking people was just going to be okay with it was beyond blasphemous. And I co-sign everything that people are saying about this game, as no way you're charging a $70 price tag for a 3-hour campaign and a bunch of remaster maps from Modern Warfare 2. Like, at that point, you're just slapping people in the face and telling them to deal with it. So I'm glad that everybody's calling this one of the worst Activision games of all time. Then we got to the OG Fortnite, of course, because if you don't know, Fortnite is back. So basically, the concurrent player count has reached not an all-time high, but basically has reached a higher peak than its past 3 to 4 years. So basically, Fortnite is back. Well, OG Fortnite is back. So now that you can play Fortnite in the Chapter 1 map, I gave you everything you need to know about it. Basically, if you want to round up the boys and hop on Fortnite like the good old days, you can now with a new Chapter 1 skin, because it's still the same new graphics and mechanics, but it's just the old map. So with that being said, I think this marketing strategy was implemented at its finest time, because now the Fortnite concurrent user record is the highest it's ever been in a while. Then we finally got into Spider-Man 2, and I gave my review. I talked about the DLC news, and I basically kind of gave a rendition of what I believe is my favorite game of the year, which I reiterate is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and also several reasons why I believe Jedi Survivor is just an overall better game. And that hurts my heart to say, because y'all know I'm biased for Spider-Man, but there's just so many things that could have easily been implemented that I feel like the lazy route was taken, that had to go the Survivor route, because I feel like the Survivor game left no stones unturned. Then we transitioned to ex-PlayStation boss Shawn Layden, basically talking about how non-gaming companies are disrupting the industry, going through a very in-detailed explanation on how they are affecting it and what studios has the most effect on the gaming industry. And I thought it was very interesting, especially if you care about the business aspect of gaming. But if you don't, he also gave you some on the surface level changes that also are big deals when it comes to Microsoft and Sony. So that interview as a whole was one of the more informative interviews that I've heard regarding gaming in a while. Then we got into Megan Thee Stallion versus 1501. If you don't know, Megan Thee Stallion is not only beefing with artists, she also beefing with whole labels. So she just can't catch a break. So basically, they finally came to a settlement, but the way that the settlement is sounding, 1501 put out a statement basically saying that, hey, we got what we want, and now we good. Like, we don't care what she do now. So I don't even know what type of bag she had to give up to get off of 1501, but hopefully she recoups and makes that back with her latest album. Her single is already out now, titled Cobra, on all DSPs if you want to check that out. Then we got into Glorilla versus Kai Cenat, really Glorilla versus Akademiks, because of Kai Cenat. And I kind of gave my overall peaceful conclusion and peaceful resolution to this situation. I kind of talked about how these situations could have been non-existent, and how others jumping into certain people's beefs kind of makes it 10 times more spicy than it needs to be, if that makes sense. So Glorilla versus Akademiks was enjoying to watch, but tough, and I mean tough, to sit down and review, because at the end of the day, they not really talking about nothing, and they don't really have real beef. It was just a funny segment. So then we ended off episode 131 with the City Girls, and not gonna lie, I felt pretty passionate about this one because I do like the City Girls. I like Carisha, I like JT, I like what they represent in the space of being able to talk about yourselves in certain ways that's accepted. I think they really pioneered that wave. Some may say it's Cardi B, which I wouldn't be mad at, but I think City Girls took it to a level to where they was even out coming out on interviews and saying like, I like to get peed on. And I was like, hold up now, ain't that a so I was like, nah, they took it to another level. Act Up came out. I feel like all the girls want to replicate that City Girls movement. I heard City Girl movement way more than I heard, I don't even know what Cardi calls themselves or whatever, but basically you get what I'm saying. City Girls started a movement about talking about yourself in a certain way and it being completely fine and acceptable. And that can either be a good thing or a bad thing, but just know at the end of the day, I had to speak on that because with their album sales with 10,000 units sold, which is just horrendous being on a major label, I believe that we have to pinpoint their influence in other fields and areas to highlight the fact that they will be all right in the foreseeable future. So that was about it for episode 131. Of course, thank y'all for tuning into the Notorious Mass Effect podcast, and also have to thank y'all for just supporting week after week and getting us to the point where we have total downloads wise surpassed 2 million downloads. Now, of course, I don't know if I'm gonna do this for like 3, 4, 5, 6 million, like as far as like a big, intro or outro, basically thanking y'all, but I want to get to the point where I do highlight it frequently. But if it happens too frequently, like I may not make not saying like a big deal out of it. I'm just gonna say, because y'all don't want me to spend like the whole episode talking about our achievements every single time. Like y'all want to update and then get into the topic. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but next time I definitely next time I just won't make it as long, if that makes sense, because the intro did run a little long. But I just love to show y'all my appreciation, because I could just be talking to myself. Like I could just be uploading stuff and then nobody listens, you know what I'm saying? And then at that point, that's hey, it's just me, myself, and I. So I appreciate y'all supporting to the point where we surpass 2 million total downloads. Hopefully we keep going into the future. I believe we will, because this is only the beginning, and I really appreciate y'all's support. And also shout out to FeedSpot one more time for putting me on their best Mass Effect podcast list. And as far as where we were as placement, I'm just saying we was top 2, and we may not be, hey, we may not have been 2. That's all I gotta say. So anyways, thank you for tuning into this episode 131. And don't be afraid to send me an email letting me know what you think of the show and what you want me to talk about in the next episode. Also, click my link tree in my bio to access my social medias and keep up with my latest activities. If you want to support the show financially, click my Cash App link located towards the bottom of my link tree, as it helps your show overall. Make sure to share this podcast and rate this show 5 stars or whatever platform you're currently listening on, as this helps the show reach more people so we can grow together and affect the masses. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Notorious Mass Effect.